Under a night sky lit by a full moon, a towering castle looms on the horizon. Inside the castle, a gruesome scene displays the aftermath of a bloody battle. Blood-soaked bodies are scattered everywhere, while an angry voice describes the perpetrator, Ravis Bendika, as a stain of disgrace. In the middle of a vast hall crowded with corpses, a survivor kneels, severely wounded, weakly questioning if the killer thinks he can escape the consequences of what he described as a massacre. Ravis Bendika stands over the survivor, a young man with demonic features and red horns, answering with disdain that he was fully aware of the Hilt family's actions, mockingly asking if they thought their crimes would remain a secret. Ravis refuses to call what happened a massacre, asserting while clutching his blood-stained fist that what he did was nothing but a deserved execution. Then, he declares in a firm voice that this execution was carried out in the name of the Bendika family, as an aura of purple power glows around him as evidence of his resolve. A final scream of pain fills the hall, announcing the end of the last survivor and the beginning of a new chapter of events. Later, Ravis appears chained in another hall, where another person rebukes him, calling him a miserable fool who doesn't know his limits. That voice reveals that he had ordered Ravis to bring evidence of betrayal and never ordered him to exterminate the entire family. The voice accuses him of daring to destabilize the order of the demon world. It turns out that the owner of the voice is Gamadir Bendika, the demon king and Ravis's father, who sternly tells his son that he has gone too far this time. Ravis is shown hanging in his shackles, protesting that the evidence of the Hilt family's betrayal was clear for all to see, and that his father himself knew they were people from whom no good could be expected. He adds angrily that the reason their crimes were overlooked was the presence of some elderly sycophants who protected them, preventing their punishment despite all the evidence. He asks bitterly how many crimes were ignored, while some mysterious hooded figures watch him from afar. The king responds, rejecting his son's logic, explaining that even execution has strict procedures, where there is no place for Ravis's trivial personal judgments. Ravis mocks the idea of procedures and execution, considering talking about them ridiculous in light of the existing corruption. He shouts, asserting that the law of survival in the demon world is simple and clear. Darkness is swallowed by a deeper darkness. Then he addresses his father, the great demon king, blaming him for his inability to swallow this obvious darkness represented by the Hilt family. He goes further, questioning how his father can be called the king of the demon world, while the nobles are the ones who control its laws and system. The king looks at his son with regret, describing his thoughts as naive and short-sighted, and considering him a true fool. Ravis strongly defends his position, explaining that the survival of the ruling Bendika family depends on the extermination of the Hilt family because they commit all kinds of sins to seize the throne, asking his father if this wasn't the real reason he sent him as an investigator in the first place. He blames those cowards who hide behind the Hilt family and overlook the rampant corruption. After a short silence, the king sighs in despair, realizing there is no use in trying to convince his stubborn son of his viewpoint. Then his father steps forward and tells Ravis that the decision for his punishment has already been made in agreement with the 12 black seats, which surprises Ravis, who did not expect the word punishment. Mangacap, king loudly announces the final verdict, which is the exile of Ravis Bendika to the human world for violating the laws of the demon world and committing a massacre against the Hilt family. Ravis is shocked by the severity of the verdict, unable to believe that his father truly intends to exile him to the human world, asking him in bewilderment if he is serious about his decision. The king confirms that Ravis must pay the price for his sins in the human world, where his powers will be sealed, so that he may learn the true dignity of the Bendika family there. Ravis tries to plead with his father, begging that although he killed the members of the Hilt family, he did not destroy their souls, in a desperate attempt to lighten the sentence. The king completely ignores his pleas and orders the hooded sorcerers to execute the sentence immediately, and they begin drawing a glowing magic circle. As the magic circle's glow intensifies, Ravis violently resists his chains, shouting that he refuses to accept this unjust punishment because he did nothing wrong, but his attempts are in vain as the spell is completed. Ravis lets out a loud cry of intense pain, while one of the sorcerers approaches him and mockingly whispers to him to enjoy his time, calling him the prince who brought shame to his family. He tells Ravis that he will guard his place well in his absence, which provokes Ravis's anger, who hurls insults at him in his final moments before the transition. The power of the spell intensifies and completely consumes Ravis's body in a flash of purple energy, making him disappear from the courtroom in the demon world. Then the conditions of the sentence issued against Ravis Bendika appear, which dictate his exile to the human world with a set of strict rules. First, to live the life of the human body he will inhabit faithfully. Second, he is forbidden from ending his own life. And third, he is prohibited from killing any human, and any breach of these laws will lead to the destruction of his soul. In the human world, a young man suddenly wakes up in his bed, gasping, as if waking from a horrific nightmare. The young man sits in a state of bewilderment, looking at his hands, and then at the bed around him, trying to comprehend what happened to him. He holds his head in despair, realizing with anger that he has indeed descended to the human world, trapped in a human body. He is overcome with feelings of resentment toward the one called Banbi, the person who betrayed him, vowing that as soon as he returns to his world, the first thing he will do is rip out his horns in revenge. Suddenly he feels a sharp pain coursing through his new human body and asks in annoyance about the reason for this weakness and pain. He looks at his new form again, lamenting that he has become a prisoner of this frail body. He mockingly thinks that the Hilt family was nothing but a group of useless people until the end. Then he feels difficulty breathing in this strange world, wishing he could find a nearby place where sulfur flows to relieve him. His thoughts are interrupted by a voice coming from the room door, and when he turns, he finds a girl calling him Appa, so he looks at her in deep confusion. The girl rushes toward him and hugs him tightly, expressing her great relief that he has finally woken up, telling him she thought he would never wake up again. Ravis wonders to himself about the identity of this girl, concluding that she must be a relative of this body's owner. Meanwhile, another woman appears at the door calling him Miminho, revealing the identity of his human body. The woman covers her face with her hands and starts crying, expressing her deep gratitude for his awakening and apologizing for the pain he must have suffered. Ravis finds himself confused, unable to understand the situation or how to act in it. He remembers what was told to him about the human world being one of the 3 great hells, and wonders anxiously if he will truly be able to live in this place. A man enters the room, appearing to be the father of the human body, and his wife immediately tells him that Minho has just woken up. With a cold, emotionless look, the man orders his son to get up and prepare to go to school the next day, reminding him that he had been bedridden for a week and has a lot to make up for. The mother tries to object gently, pointing out that Minho's condition might still be unstable, but her husband sharply silences her, considering that his mere awakening is enough for him to return to his normal life. The girl asks him anxiously if he's okay, but Ravis looks at his parents as they leave, feeling a dark and strange aura surrounding them, which makes him feel shocked and confused. For some strange reason, Ravis finds himself admiring the cruelty of that man who resembles demons in his nature, thinking with surprise that in the human world as well, there is a human with a demonic nature. The girl notices his strange facial expressions and calls him hesitatingly. Ravis realizes that his admiration for that cruel nature was involuntary, but he soon regains his seriousness and decides that he must be very careful until the memories of the original body owner return to him to understand the reality of his situation. The next day he finds himself in front of a huge building under a clear sky, and the woman tells him they have arrived, so Ravis wonders if this is the place called school. The woman asks him to call her if he feels any tiredness during classes, and after he answers her in the affirmative, she watches him walk away with a silent look before leaving. As he walks toward the school entrance, he remembers that he had attended a school in the demon world 600 years ago. He feels great resentment at the thought of having to attend a human school at his advanced age, confirming to himself that this situation is no different from hell. He reaffirms to himself that the human world is indeed hell, as humans in his eyes are mortal beings who don't live for more than 100 years at best. Then he enters his classroom. He sits in his seat and makes a decisive decision to live quietly in this world, just to avoid the fate of his soul being destroyed. However, he has not lost sight of his ultimate goal. He believes that by exterminating the Hilt family, he has bought some time, and all he has to do now is find a way to return to the demon world and inherit his father's position. This is driven by his determination to protect his royal family, the Bendika family, before they are exposed to danger again. While Ravi sits in his seat trying to adapt, 2 students approach him, one of whom greets him mockingly, referring to his long absence. So Ravis looks at them cautiously, wondering about their identity. The blonde-haired student grabs Ravis's shoulder violently and asks if he has brought the overdue membership fees. And at that moment, Minho's body reacts involuntarily with an instinctive reflex of fear, surprising Ravis, who realizes that the body acted on its own. Quick memories flash in his mind, revealing scenes where the original body owner, Minho, was being beaten and insulted by these same students. Then Ravis realizes the truth. The pain he felt throughout his body upon waking up was nothing but the result of the assault he suffered at the hands of these bastards. The bully continues his mockery, asking why Minho is so afraid while among his friends, describing him as having become more pathetic than before. The bully puts his hand on Ravis's head in a demeaning gesture and tells him that they should have greeted each other happily after a long absence, then demands he pay the membership fees quickly as a token of friendship. Ravi seethes with anger inside, unable to believe that a mere human dares to touch and hit him this way, him being the prince of demons. He recalls a memory from an old lesson in the demon world, where his teacher was explaining to them about humans, describing them as vulgar creatures that look ugly without horns, and the students agreed then that they smell foul. The teacher finished her explanation, asserting that humans are infinitely vulgar creatures and that they are ready to do anything to hide their inherent weakness. She also described them as a foolish race that worships demons and angels at the same time, in a contradiction that reveals their ignorance. In that memory, the young Ravis commented that these stupid creatures should be burned, and his teacher strongly supported him. The teacher concluded the lesson with a strict order. If they ever encounter humans, they must crush their vulgarity without mercy. Returning to the present, while the bully's hand is still on his head, Ravis boils with rage, wondering how a despicable human dares to touch him. In a swift motion, Ravis grabs the bully's arm and slams his head hard onto the desk surface, letting out a cry of pain, while Ravis thinks to himself that humans are indeed stupid. The other students are stunned, while the other bully approaches him angrily, shouting in his face and asking if he has lost his mind. Suddenly, Ravis feels something strange as his eye glows red, realizing with surprise that his magic power, which is supposed to be sealed, has reacted. The bully screams, threatening him with death, and mockingly asks if he has gone mad after returning from the dead, referring to his week-long absence. When the bully aims a punch at him, Ravis notices something amazing. The curses and evil emanating from humans stimulate his magic power. Realizing this new link between curses and magic power, Ravis easily dodges the punch and delivers a powerful punch to the bully's face. The bully flies through the air and falls to the ground, while his classmates stand in shock. Ravis looks at his hand, wondering how his power could work in the human world despite the seal. He concludes that, despite being in a human body, his magic power still reacts to the evil surrounding him. The shocked students look at Minho, wondering in amazement if this is the weak person they know. The other bully gets angry seeing his friend being hit, so he picks up a chair and prepares to attack Ravis, shouting that he will avenge his friend. A student wearing glasses shouts, warning Minho of the danger coming from behind him, so Ravis turns calmly with his eyes glowing. Before the chair reaches him, Ravis delivers a quick blow to the attacker, and he too falls in pain. The second bully falls to his knees, coughing from the intensity of the pain, unable to understand how this sudden shift in power happened. Ravis stands before him with disdain, while the other calls him a weak bastard. Ravis tells him calmly that humans, as they say, become more vulgar to hide their weakness, asking him mockingly if he thinks insults make him strong. Without warning, he delivers a powerful kick to the face of the bully kneeling on the ground. At that moment, an image of his mother appears in his mind, a demoness of prestige and power, and he realizes a startling truth. The source of the human curses that feed his power now is his mother herself. A state of shock and bewilderment pervaded the classroom, as the two bullies, Tae-woo and Sung-yun, were lying on the ground unconscious, while the rest of the students whispered about what happened, unable to believe that the weak Minho was the one who managed to defeat them. Ravis addresses his father in his mind, remembering that his orders were to live quietly and then leave, but he smiles a demonic smile, realizing that this rule might not be suitable for him. Then he turns to the rest of the students who are looking at him with fear and asks them in a tone carrying an implicit threat whether there is anyone else who wants to insult him and experience a similar fate, inviting them to try if they have the courage. A dark aura in the form of a demon manifests behind him, confirming the seriousness of his threat, while he repeats his provocative question about who wants to curse him. The students look at him in disbelief, wondering if this is truly the Minho they know, especially the student with glasses who was wondering in amazement when Minho became this strong. After silence prevailed, the student with glasses cautiously approaches Ravis and asks him if he is okay after all that happened. Ravis realizes that this is the same student who tried to warn him earlier about the bullies, so he looks at him with a different gaze. As he contemplates him, a demonic idea occurs to him that this boy seems perfectly suitable to be his servant in this world, but he hides his intentions and answers him simply that he is fine. After the school day ended, on the way back, the student with glasses was still impressed by what happened, expressing his great admiration for Minho's strength and his ability to face the bullies alone. The student surprises his companion with a strange question, wondering if he is reincarnated from another world or something like that, which shocks Ravis for a moment, who worries that this human might have discovered his truth so quickly. The boy continues his innocent guesses, wondering if he came from the world of Murim or from inside a video game, making Ravis more anxious as he thinks about the consequences if this potential servant had already realized his identity. Ravis recalls a previous conversation with Banbi, who strictly warned him against killing humans in their world, because the punishment for that is the total annihilation of his soul. But Ravis objected then, reminding him that his teacher Cynthia always told him to crush any vulgar human they encounter. Bambi explained to him that the teacher's words were just a passing comment, and that as demons they should never underestimate human death. The reason for that, as he explained, was that demons are like the gods who oversee death, giving them a certain responsibility toward human souls. Ravis dismissed this talk in the past, pointing out that he heard humans are busy killing each other anyway. Bambi admitted that humans are indeed fools, but he asserted that this folly is the reason for the existence of demons in the first place, referring to their role in maintaining a certain order. The demon concluded his advice by reminding Ravis of the necessity of remembering the rule, but Ravis then paid no attention to his words, naively believing that, as the future king of demons, he would never have any reason to go to the human world at all. Returning to the present, Ravis finds himself in a real dilemma. If he is forbidden from killing humans, he doesn't know how he is supposed to silence them when needed. The boy interrupts his thoughts, revealing that his question was only a wish, expressing his desire for the idea of reincarnation to be true, so he could wake up in another world himself. Ravis turns to him and notices that he can smell the scent of miserable pain emanating from this boy. While the boy admits that the idea of reincarnation doesn't seem logical, the boy offers his own explanation for what happened in the classroom, believing he knows more than anyone else how much harm Minho endured before finally exploding, so Ravis feels relieved, realizing that the boy fortunately discovered nothing about his reality. Then the boy continues praising Minho, saying he was truly amazing in class, making Ravis feel disgusted, inwardly denouncing the idea of receiving praise from a mere human. In the evening, Ravis sits in his room to think about the day's events, confirming to himself that his demonic energy was indeed stimulated when humans were directing insults at him, which is strange for a demon whose powers are supposed to be sealed in a human body. He reflects on what happened, then a confident smile forms on his face as he realizes he has discovered a loophole in his seal. He is overcome by a moment of vanity, reaching the conclusion that for him, Ravis Bendika, there are no real limits to his abilities even in this world. But his arrogance did not last long, as he was hit by a sudden and sharp pain that forced him to bend over, groaning from its intensity. He falls on his bed in pain, realizing that his human body is too weak to withstand his demonic energy, feeling pain spreading through his entire body. He lies on the bed, sweating, groaning at the thought that living as a human for just one day was this agonizing. While he grinds his teeth, believing he will never be able to sleep because of the pain, he immediately falls into a deep sleep, ending his first exhausting day in the human world. With the dawn of a new day, the sun rises over the school, announcing the beginning of another chapter of the Demon Prince's adventures in the human world. On the way back from school, the student with glasses expresses his overwhelming happiness, wondering in amazement how long it has been since they spent a normal school day. Then he thanks Minho, admitting that, thanks to him, no one dared to bother them. But Ravis replies coldly, saying he doesn't care about that, and all he cares about is fighting, inwardly admitting his strong desire to test his newly discovered demonic energy. Suddenly, a voice from behind calls him by his full name, Young Minho, so he and his companion stop and look behind them in surprise. A young man who looks older approaches them, accompanied by the two bullies Ravis defeated the previous day, asking in a hostile tone if he was the one who assaulted his younger brother. The older young man, who appears to be the leader of the bullies, steps forward and tells Ravis mockingly that he was protecting him in exchange for meager membership fees, then asks him how he dares to return this favor this way. Ravis's eyes gleam with excitement as he sees in this situation a new opportunity to use his power, so he smiles and points to himself, proudly admitting that he is the perpetrator, while his friend is terrified by his boldness. The leader angrily orders him to follow him, and Ravis enthusiastically and with great happiness agrees, causing panic for his friend, who sees him walking toward danger with a smile. Elsewhere, the leader of the bullies appears rebuking his brother Tae-woo, reminding him that he warned him against getting beaten up. He adds in a demeaning tone that he can't believe he returned defeated by a weak person, so Tae-woo apologizes submissively to his brother. The older brother approaches Ravis, who is standing calmly, and asks him what he should do in this situation, claiming that if he lets him go, he will look like a bad older brother who cannot protect his sibling. Then he makes a demeaning gesture, touching Ravis's head with his finger, mockingly asking if this is the way his mother taught him to behave and to assault his kind friends. With a cold and provocative smile, Ravis answers that she had done so, which angers the bully, who sees him as just a rude bastard. The bully laughs mockingly, unable to believe Ravis's boldness, but he is surprised when he sees Ravi smiling a mysterious smile. Ravis's eye glows red as he thinks to himself that the curses that remind him of his mother are always enjoyable and a source of strength. In a swift motion, Ravis grabs the bully's hand that was about to hit him and twists it forcefully, making the bully scream in intense pain. As the bully writhes in pain, Ravis addresses his mother in his thoughts, expressing his admiration for her because she allowed the human tongue to carry this strong poison of curses, then delivers a powerful blow to the bully's face. Revis continues to recall his mother's teachings, remembering her saying that physical violence only restrains the body, and that the corrupt voice full of curses is what consumes the soul, and that these miserable humans call out to it desperately through their curses. Then he delivers another punch. The younger brother of the bully and his friends watch the scene in horror and bewilderment, unable to believe that their strong brother is being beaten this way, while Ravis's friend stands completely shocked. The defeated bully shouts at his followers, ordering them not to stand idly by and to kill this bastard. Ravis looks at the group preparing to attack, thinking happily that their attack as a pack makes it better for him. Ravis realizes that greater power accumulates to face greater evil, and as the bullies attack him all at once, he unleashes his power and easily defeats them all. Ravis's friend screams in fear as he watches the violent fight. After the battle ended, Ravis stands calmly amidst the bullies lying on the ground, breathing deeply. He looks at the older bully who is coughing blood on the ground, feeling refreshed and satisfied after unleashing his power. Ravis thinks of his uncle, the demonic being who gave humans violence when his mother created curses, and now realizes the wisdom behind it, convinced that violence is the best way. Then he gives a silent thanks to his uncle, while his friend calls him anxiously, so Ravis turns to him with a demonic smile. Meanwhile, a rat with glowing red eyes appears, watching the scene silently. It turns out that the rat was nothing but a means to monitor the mission, as the scene then shows Ravis reporting to an unknown party, confirming that the mission he was ordered to do has been successfully executed. A mysterious figure sitting on a throne appears, watching Ravis through the rat, and addresses Ravis, revealing his identity as his uncle, whom he was thinking of just a moment ago. In the demon world, a person with an imposing appearance sits on a stone throne, commenting with enjoyment that his nephew, Ravis, seems to have liked his gift. While Bambi was thinking that gift was nothing but a bloody mana stone he had planted in Ravis's eye instead of the traditional seal stone. Then he wonders with a cunning smile how long Ravis will be able to endure. Ravis's uncle laughs loudly, commenting that bastard Ravis has already managed to exterminate the entire Hilt family. Bambi adds that Ravis was always a stubborn person who is only satisfied by doing exactly what he pleases. Then Ravis's uncle comments on the cruelty of his brother, King Gamadir, who did not hesitate for a moment to exile his son to the human world, wondering who could break Ravis's stubbornness. Bambi replies that King Gamadir's doctrine was always that subjugation by force is the only way to deal with malicious bastards. The uncle adds that the human world is the place where those with heinous crimes, even by the standards of the demon world, are exiled, and that adapting to this world will not be easy for Ravis. He recalls with a smile an old memory of Ravis as a small child causing trouble and calling out to his uncle to save him, describing him as a little bastard who grew up quickly and started causing trouble. Then Bambi asks if this is the reason that prompted his uncle to give him the magic bloodstone as a gift. Bambi informs his master Barkin that he is ready to reveal the sinners who were exiled to the human world. Barkin orders him with an evil smile to reveal them. Bambi explains that since Ravis has descended to the human world, he will inevitably have to face those sinners who appear in terrifying and varied forms. Bambi prepares to unleash those dark forces into the human world. Bambi releases his magic to manifest a dark portal from which evil spirits form. Barkan declares that he looks forward with great anticipation to what will happen, assuring his nephew Ravis that he is about to experience true darkness. In the human world, Ravi sits with his friend in a restaurant, where the friend expresses his extreme fascination with what happened, wondering in amazement how Minho managed to defeat Taewoo's brother so easily, describing the scene as wonderful, as if it were a cinematic movie. Ravis tries to hide how much he is affected by the spicy food, claiming that the tears in his eyes are just sweat, after his friend asked him if he was crying. His friend gently scolds him because he insisted on ordering the spicy level of food, but Ravis thinks to himself that a demon who avoids hell is not a demon at all. Suddenly, his friend's phone rings, and the name Jin Jae-hee appears on the screen, and the friend freezes in his place with a look of pure terror on his face. The friend stammers in his talk with Ravis and nervously claims he received an urgent call and cannot answer it. Then he apologizes and tells Ravis he will leave first and asks him to enjoy the food. The friend leaves in a hurry, leaving Ravis alone thinking about his strange behavior. Elsewhere, inside a dark room, a tattooed woman appears, threatening a restrained man with a sharp tool, warning him not to move. She blames him for not paying his money on time, saying he has increased her workload, while photos of other victims who suffered the same fate appear on the wall. The woman finishes her work by tattooing the man's face with a mark, then mockingly comments that he must have good skin because the tattoo has set well. At that moment, a large man enters the room and tells the woman named Jae-hee that he has brought the requested person. Ravis's friend appears trembling with fear, so Jae-hee looks at him angrily, asking about the reason for his delay, then mockingly invites him to take a look at what she has done. Jae-hee grabs the friend's face forcefully and forces him to look at the tortured man, ordering him to open his eyes wide and watch the scene closely. Jae-hee asks Ravis's terrified friend if he realizes what this horrific scene means for the tortured man in front of him. Then she explains to him coldly that what he sees is that man's punishment for not paying his debts, describing him as a small thief who got his due. After that, Jae-hee turns her threat toward the boy named Lim Sion, asking him in a malicious tone about his progress in fulfilling the promise between them. Sion tries to evade, stammering that some unexpected obstacles have appeared in his way. Jae-hee explodes in anger at his weak excuse, asking him if he thinks she's joking, then pushes him forcefully to the ground and shouts in his face, denouncing his lack of understanding of what she asks of him. The threat escalates as she grabs him and brings the tattoo machine close to his hand, wondering if she should engrave her words on the back of his hand so he understands. The boy screams in intense fear, begging her to stop, so she asks him in a frighteningly calm voice to listen to her well. She tells him that this is the last chance she is giving him. Then she points to the man lying on the ground, warning him that he doesn't want to end up in the same condition. She issues her final order for him to execute exactly what she asked of him and make sure to have it ready as soon as possible. Later that night, Lim Sion sits in his room in front of his computer, wondering in an internal conflict if it is right to finish what was asked of him, but he realizes that Jin Jae-hee will not have mercy on him if he doesn't. He continues working in the dark, forced to complete his mission under the weight of threat and fear. Meanwhile, Ravis wakes up in his bed in intense pain from his stomach, wondering in annoyance if this is what they call physical endurance. He feels as if his whole body is breaking, and his shoulder is about to dislocate from the effect of the simple fight he fought. Seething with rage at this incredibly weak human body, he gets up and starts performing athletic exercises with determination, confirming to himself that he, Ravis Bendika, will not collapse because of something trivial like this. He continues pushing himself to the absolute limits, shouting that he will rehabilitate this trivial body no matter what it costs, and that any amount of pain will never make him submit. The next day at school, Lim Sion walks in the hallway holding a small device in his hand. He looks at the application on the device and thinks to himself that this matter is extremely dangerous. Jae-hee's last words echo in his mind as she orders him to make sure everything is ready. Sion stands confused, wondering in despair what he should do in this difficult situation. Ravis interrupts his thoughts by suddenly putting his hand on his shoulder, making Sion jump in terror and let out a faint cry. Ravis asks him calmly about the reason for all this panic and surprise. Sion thinks for a moment about asking for Minho's help, but he immediately retreats from his idea, realizing that no matter how strong Minho is now, his involvement with Jin Jae-hee and her gang would be an extremely dangerous matter. Instead, he leans on Ravis in despair, determined not to allow his friend to get involved in this problem. And at that moment, Ravis picks up a strange and familiar scent. As he wonders about the source of this scent he has smelled before, a girl with orange hair stumbles in front of them and suddenly falls to the ground. Sion shouts, calling the girl by the name Seong-yi, while students gather around her anxiously, asking her if she is okay. Sion quickly kneels beside her, asking her anxiously if she is sick. The girl starts coughing violently, then vomits and trembles on the ground, causing terror and shock to everyone around her. Ravis watches the scene with intense focus as his eye glows red, realizing immediately that what he sees is demonic energy, wondering in bewilderment how a human could possess such energy. A man rushes toward the girl lying on the ground, Seong-yi, shouting anxiously to ask her what is happening. As he carries her on his back trying to wake her up, he decides to transfer her to the clinic immediately. As they pass by, Ravis catches a glimpse of a strange tattoo on the girl's wrist that catches his attention intensely. Then, his eyes widen in shock as he realizes that that tattoo is none other than the emblem of the Hilt family he exterminated, wondering angrily how this emblem could exist on a human body. With burning eyes, he decides that he must investigate this mysterious matter himself. Later, Ravi sneaks wearing a hoodie cap to hide his identity toward the clinic room, but one of the nurses or guards stops him at the door. She asks him if he is a friend of Seong-yi and tells him sternly that she needs rest and visits are not allowed at the moment. With a cold look and a glowing red eye, Ravis whispers mysterious words, using his demonic power to grant her oblivion. The nurse freezes in her place, and her eyes turn into an empty white, indicating she has fallen under the influence of his spell. She sits quietly on the seat outside the room in a state resembling a coma, while Ravis enters inside without any hindrance. He thinks to himself that this level of ability is possible even with a small amount of demonic energy, but its effect will likely be temporary. The girl, who has regained consciousness, is surprised by his presence and asks him about his identity. So he replies to her in a threatening tone, asking her who she is in the name of hell. She shouts in his face angrily, denouncing his sudden intrusion into her room. In a swift motion, Ravis grabs her wrist forcefully so she screams in pain and curses him. He clearly shows her the tattoo and repeats his question sharply about the reason for the presence of the Hilt family emblem on the arm of a mere human. She replies to him angrily, describing his talk as nonsense that has no meaning. Then Ravis unleashes his purple demonic aura, warning her that if she doesn't tell him the truth, she will suffer a much greater calamity. Then he approaches her, with his eyes gleaming with a terrifying red glow, asking her for the last time about her true identity. The girl freezes in terror as she stares at his face, realizing she is before a being beyond her imagination. A huge and terrifying demon figure manifests behind him, so the girl screams in a state of total panic, wondering if he is a demon. Her shock is repeated as she realizes the truth of the being standing before her. After she stammers in speech, Ravi sternly orders her to tell the truth. She tells him while crying that she really knows nothing and mentions the name Jae-hee. She explains to him that Jae-hee told her it was necessary to get this tattoo if she wanted to join her crew, and that she also gave her weight loss pills. As he holds her arm, Ravi smells a faint scent emanating from her. He immediately confirms that this scent he had smelled before in the demon world. Memory takes him back to the past, where he was walking as a small boy in one of the demon world castles, heading toward a deep well, when a familiar voice calls him. He turns to find Bambi, who tells him that this is a forbidden area. The young Ravi smiles mockingly and tells Bambi not to be such a coward, provoking the other's anger. Bambi protests that he is not afraid, but rather doesn't want to get punished. So Ravis replies coldly that he should leave then continues his way toward the forbidden area without concern. Bambi refuses to accompany Ravis at first, but he decides to catch up with him reluctantly, justifying it by saying that no one knows what kind of trouble the young prince might cause if left alone. As he follows him in the dark corridors, Bambi wonders anxiously how far Ravis intends to reach in this forbidden area. The two continue their walk in the depths of the castle, so Bambi calls out to Ravis to grab his attention. Ravis replies with a cold, sarcastic tone that he won't be able to know what's going on in his mind because he hasn't told him anything yet, so Bambi clears his throat with embarrassment. Bambi tells him that their presence in this dark place reminded him of an old story about those who possess eyes that go beyond the limits of other races. He explains that, as he understood, there are two ways these people lose their sight. Either they go blind from seeing something extremely bright, or their eyes atrophy from not seeing anything at all in a dark place like this. Then he suddenly falls silent. Ravi signals him to be silent, whispering that there is something nearby. They hide behind one of the walls to see a pale hand on the ground from which an orange glowing flower extends. Bambi wonders in a voice trembling with fear about the nature of that thing. Ravis decides to approach to see clearly, ignoring the warnings of the terrified Bambi, who screams that it's dangerous. When they approach, they find the place full of those strange flowers, and Bambi recognizes the corpse lying on the ground, realizing with shock that it belongs to Jeremy Hilt. They look at the lifeless body covered by the flowers, and Ravis confirms that Jeremy has indeed died. Driven by curiosity, Ravis extends his hand to touch one of the flowers, ignoring Bambi's screams warning him against doing so, and as soon as he touches it, bloody thorny roots come out from under it. He grabs the flower and smells it, feeling disgusted by its pungent scent. Bambi looks at him in a state of extreme horror, having realized the truth of this deadly plant. He screams in panic, revealing that that is the devouring flower. Returning to the present, Ravis realizes that the scent emanating from the girl in the hospital is the same scent of the devouring flower he encountered in the past. The girl begs him while crying to have mercy on her, so he stands silent for moments, then moves away from her, looking out the window at the city night. From afar, a demonic being resembling a bat watches him, commenting that Ravis has indeed encountered that thing, and that he looks forward with longing to what will happen next. Ravis walks alone in the dark city streets under a starry sky. He finally reaches his destination, standing in front of a closed metal door, realizing that this is Jin Jae-hee's tattoo shop. He stands in the dark alley, thinking about the strange connection between the Hilt family emblem and the devouring flower, wondering if their appearance together is just a coincidence. Elsewhere, inside a narrow hallway, one of the gang members wonders about the reason for their leader Yongmo's obsession with that boy named Lim Sion, so his companion answers him that the leader doesn't care about the boy himself, but about the application he developed. Another blonde-haired man laughs mockingly as he takes out a small thing, commenting that their gang has started using advanced technology now. It turns out that what is in his hand is a new type of drug in the form of candy wrapped in a blue ribbon, mentioning that it's developed by Yongmo. His companion warns him against taking it, reminding him of what happened to Jo Seong-hee the previous day, and asserting that its side effects are dire because it's still new. The blonde man completely ignores the warning, saying he doesn't care as long as its effect makes him feel good, so his friend describes him as a crazy fool, while Ravis watches them from afar. A tattoo on the blonde man's neck catches Ravis's attention, which is the same Hilt family emblem, in addition to that familiar scent emanating from him. Ravis approaches the group quietly and asks them directly if they got their tattoos from Jin Jae-hee, which surprises the gang members who turn toward him in surprise, wondering about the identity of this stranger. The blonde-haired man approaches Ravis in a provocative manner and mockingly asks him if he is one of Jae-hee's friends. The man continues his mockery, approaching and touching Ravis's face in a demeaning gesture, advising him of the necessity of showing some respect to those who are older than him. Ravis's eye glows red, and in a swift motion that cannot be blocked, he punches the blonde man hard, then throws him to the ground, leaving his companions in a state of total bewilderment. While the blonde man groans from pain on the ground, his companion steps forward angrily, shouting in Ravis's face, calling him a little bastard, and asking about the party that sent him. Ravis aims a punch at the man, knocking him far away. One of the attackers screams in a state of disbelief, wondering if this newcomer has completely lost his mind. Ravis gives them no chance to group up, so he lunges at the rest who rush toward him shouting threatening phrases, vowing him death. Ravis confronts them with superior combat skill and drops them one by one amidst their screams. In a desperate attempt, one of the gang members pulls out a knife and attacks Ravis while shouting, but Ravis remains calm and prepares to block the attack. With a move faster than lightning, Ravis delivers a fatal blow to the attacker, and the latter falls to the ground coughing from the intensity of the pain, unable to comprehend what happened. After he finished them all off, Ravis stands over the last survivor and asks him coldly, with his eyes glowing with a demonic glow, about Jin Jae-hee's place. The blonde man stands up and utters intermittent words, ordering his companions to kill him, but his facial features start changing to become distorted and demonic. The transformation process is completed, so he looks at Ravis with wild eyes and lets out a threatening scream, vowing to kill him. Ravis notices with surprise a sudden rise in his opponent's demonic energy, and at that moment, the man lunges toward him, letting out an angry roar. Ravis realizes that his movements have changed, so he wonders if that drug is what enhanced his physical abilities this way. Ravis retreats backward and collides with one of the defeated enemies and falls to the ground. The attacker jumps in the air, ready to deliver a fatal blow to Ravis lying on the ground. Ravis looks at him from below with an angry look, vowing in himself, while the glow of his eyes increases in strength. Elsewhere, and inside the gang headquarters, Jae-hee submits a report, apologizing for the application not being completed yet. Another person comments coldly that he heard this excuse before, while Young-mo adds that he was very clear in his orders this time. Young-mo tells Jae-hee that they have caught the person who stole the blue ribbon. A restrained man appears shouting, admitting his mistake and begging for his life. He continues to plead, vowing that he won't repeat his mistake again and asks for a last chance. Young-mo completely ignores him and calmly picks up a blue flower from a nearby vase. The man begs, asking for mercy, but his pleas turn into screams of terror. Young-mo approaches him and hits him with the flower to penetrate his body. The man starts suffocating and feeling intense pain as soon as he swallowed the liquid. He begs to be saved in his final moments. The man lets out a horrific cry of pain as he is hit by the flower. Then he breathes his last in a violent and painful scene. While Young-mo and his followers stand around the murdered man's body, he coldly announces that there is no room for second chances, directing a sharp gaze at those present to ensure his message has been received clearly. Everyone remains silent under the weight of his threat, including Jae-hee, who appears tense. Then he directs his speech directly to her, asking if she agrees with him. He orders her, in a tone that leaves no room for argument, to stop stalling and bring what he requested from her immediately. Jae-hee finds no choice but to comply reluctantly, while darkness looms over the city sky in a later scene. As she walks through one of the dark alleys, despair overcomes her as she realizes she is in real trouble if she does not execute the orders. So she immediately tries to call Lim Sion in anger. In his room, Lim Sion is startled by the sudden ringing of his phone and answers in a hesitant voice. But the caller was not Jae-hee, but Ravis, who is calling him from the alley that witnessed his battle, coldly telling him that he tried to investigate the matter himself, but the boys here were not cooperative, referring to the bodies lying around him. Then he asks him directly if he knows Jin Jae-hee, which causes Sion confusion. Sion is shocked, so Ravis explains to him that he clearly saw her name on his phone screen when she called him earlier. And from the middle of the alley filled with the defeated, Ravis asks his friend if he knows the place of residence of one of these boys. Sion's panic increases, so he asks anxiously how he knows Jae-hee and if he has gotten involved with her, but Ravis denies this. He explains that he came to look for her to verify something, and that he is currently standing in front of her tattoo shop, but she is not there. During his talk, Ravis notices a strange-looking white cat appearing on the stairs. On the other end of the line, Cyan begs him not to get involved with Jae-hee and tells him that he is coming to him immediately. Ravis ends the call, his full focus having shifted toward the cat that was playing in front of him. Ravis calls to the cat in a commanding tone, and it freezes in its place from shock. Then he suddenly grabs it, asking if it understands what he is, saying, but the cat only emits a frightened meow. Then Ravis's eye glows red and he sternly orders it to make him understand it, which releases a cry of terror from the small creature. The cat screams in agreement, so Ravis remembers that he had seen a rat and a bat with the same aura before and realizes it is the same entity moving between forms. He asks it about its true identity. The cat reveals that it is an observer from the demon world, and its mission is to monitor exiled prisoners. It tells him that it was monitoring him too, addressing him with the title Lord Ravis, while he thinks about how small its demonic energy is. And when it wonders how he was able to detect it, he tells it coldly that it draws attention excessively, and that at this moment it is standing on its hind legs like humans, so it realizes its mistake in confusion. Ravis decides that interrogating it further will be of no use. Instead, he unleashes his energy, and his eye glows intensely, directing his order directly through it to its master to reveal himself. The cat's eye glows with the same red energy, indicating the success of the connection. And in the demon world, Banbi sits in his luxurious office, smiling because he has been discovered faster than he expected. A familiar voice addresses Ravis in a playful tone, commenting on the speed of his discovery of the matter, so Ravis angrily accuses him that this too is of Banbi's doing. Banbi replies with a mocking smile, calling him rude for addressing his friend by this title. Ravis does not pay attention to his mockery, looking at him with a sharp gaze, questioning the scheme he is plotting this time. Banbi claims innocence, so Ravis decides to change the course of the conversation and ask one specific question instead of arguing. Ravis directs his speech to the observer in the form of the cat, questioning if exiled prisoners can use magic in the human world, explaining that this contradicts what he knew. The evasive answer comes through the cat, telling him that for every rule there is an exception. The voice coming through the cat adds that Ravis will discover the matter gradually himself, then asks him if he has any other inquiries. Ravis seizes the opportunity to mention the devouring flower, pointing out that its scent is strong and widespread in this world. He asserts that Banbi had smelled it himself in the past, and that this flower, forbidden even in the demon world, he can feel its presence here. Banbi admits that the administrators of the demon world are aware of the spread of the Hilt family's demonic monsters to the human world, and that eliminating them completely was a difficult matter due to their strong cohesion. Ravi seethes with anger, and asks sharply if this means that the remnants of the Hilt family still exist in the human world. Banbi lets out a faint laugh, and tells him that the human world is no longer as it was, but has become a place teeming with conspiracies. Then he issues his order to Ravis, since he is there, to take over the mission of eliminating them all. The order reaches Ravis through the cat, so he is shocked by this sudden assignment. Then the connection is cut, leaving the cat in a state of bewilderment and confusion. So Ravis curses the situation in indignation, realizing that he has been exploited. Elsewhere, Jae-hee appears trying to call Lim Sion in vain, realizing that every second that passes increases the danger of her situation. Her anger and anxiety grow, as she wonders if he has lost his mind by ignoring her calls. In one of the electronic games headquarters, Lim Sion receives a message from Jae-hee describing him as desperate, while another person calls him to come to the office immediately. In the end, Jae-hee issues an order via phone to capture Lim Sion. Back in the alley, Ravis turns again to the cat, questioning the extent of its knowledge of human world information, since it is an observer. So it confirms to him that it receives periodic updates and its monitoring capabilities are good enough. Then he orders it to return to its original form. And when it hesitates, he threatens it in an icy tone that he will do it himself, which raises its panic and it screams in refusal. The cat lets out a sharp cry and transforms in a flash of light into its true form. A small demonic girl with blue hair appears before him, so Ravis looks at her coldly, commenting that she looks extremely weak. But he concludes that his uncle must have a reason for sending her, then asks her for her name. She answers in confusion that she does not have a name of her own. Ravis decides to give her the name Street, justifying it by saying that he picked her up from the street, and orders her never to forget her origin from now on. The demon girl repeats her new name Street in a mixture of bewilderment and happiness, expressing her deep gratitude to Ravis, who gave her an identity of her own for the first time. Immediately after that, Ravis orders her to tell him all the information she has about the human world, and she enthusiastically agrees immediately, while the night continues to cast its shadows over the city. Elsewhere, Lim Sion rushes through the city streets, gasping from intense anxiety, realizing that his friend Minho is in danger and blaming himself because he should have refused his involvement in this matter from the beginning. His memory recalls previous events, where he was running happily, unable to believe that he had won the app development competition. The memory takes him back to that night when a dark car intercepted his path, where some mysterious men confirmed his identity as the winning developer, Lim Sion. Jae-hee mocks the meager value of the prize money, while Sion stands tense. Then, with a malicious smile, she describes him as a precious body and orders her followers to put him into the car immediately. Sion is pushed inside while screaming in terror, leaving the bouquet of flowers he was carrying to fall to the ground. Inside the car, Youngmo coldly asks him why he is trembling, describing the situation as just a deal, then asks him to look to his side. Sion finds a bag full of money, so Youngmo tells him that it contains 50 million won in exchange for handing over the app he developed. Sion tries to object, explaining that his app was not intended for sale. But Youngmo coldly rejects his logic, asserting that this is just his personal opinion. Determination fills Sion's face for a moment as he grinds his teeth, and driven by his determination to protect his friend, he decides that he must hurry to prevent Minho from meeting Jae-hee. And while he is running, he collides with one of the passers-by and starts apologizing, to discover with shock that he has collided directly with the gang members he was trying to avoid, who mock that he has saved them the trouble of searching for him. He finds himself surrounded by them, including Jae-hee. Jae-hee threatens him with an angry look that he is finished, while Sion freezes in his place from intense terror. The scene moves to a monitoring room, where Sion sits on the floor defeated, and Jae-hee tells him that his mission now is to manage the app from there, threatening him that if he does not do his job correctly, he will remain imprisoned forever. And when he tries to protest, she warns him that they monitor everything from the outside and that he should not think of any tricks. Sion surrenders to despair, realizing that everything is over. Outside the room, the gang members express their doubts about Sion's capabilities, describing him as clumsy, but they confirm that they need his app to distribute the blue ribbon drug. They reveal that the name of the app he developed is I'm Here. Inside the room, Sion sits forced to work on his computer, while one of the guards mocks him, questioning how this app is supposed to be a distribution channel and commenting on its ridiculous name. The app logo I'm Here appears clearly on the screen. Youngmo arrives at the place and asks if everything is ready. Then he explains to his followers that what Lim Sion created is the core of their work related to the blue ribbon. He adds that once they obtain the buyer's information through the app, they will be able to manipulate the market as they please. He asserts that the location sharing feature in the I'm Here app will be their primary weapon for expanding the scope of their trade. This explanation sparks the enthusiasm of one of the followers, so he asks his leader enthusiastically if they will finally start selling the blue ribbon seriously. Youngmo seriously confirms his decision and holds a piece of the blue ribbon candy that radiates a malicious purple aura. With a confident smile, he announces that the time has come to reveal this product to the whole world. The scene moves to a school courtyard in broad daylight where a student asks her friend to join an app and add her as a friend. The girl wonders what this app is, so the I'm Here logo appears on the phone screen, and her friend explains to her that adding friends gives them a cashback of 30,000 won per person. The information spreads like lightning throughout the classroom, as students get excited about the idea of earning money easily and hurry to invite their classmates to join. One of the students forces her hesitant classmate to join immediately without discussion. The students discover that there is a special event for new subscribers, where they get a weight loss product called Blue Ribbon, which is promoted as a certified healthy food, so they like its attractive name. In the gang headquarters, one of the members is surprised by the massive increase in the number of app users within just one day. While Jae-hee sits browsing her phone, expressing her amazement at this success, her companion attributes the credit to the genius of their leader, Youngmo. After that, Jae-hee asks in her destroyed shop if they have captured the one who did it, so one of her followers answers that he checked the surveillance cameras, but he found something strange. He explains that what appeared in the recording was just a bat, which causes Jae-hee confusion and surprise. They go to the monitoring room to see on the screen a close-up image of a hideous creature resembling a bat staring directly at the camera. And when she asks about the other cameras, he shows her another recording. A huge rat smiling at the camera appears on the screen, so Jae-hee explodes in anger, cursing the situation that does not seem logical at all. At that moment, one of her men informs her of the arrival of the blue ribbon shipment, so she decides to set off immediately. With the sunset, Ravi stands in his school uniform in an alley. He calls to Street, who is hiding in the form of a cat. He finds her in her demonic form performing athletic exercises, so she makes the excuse that she is trying to lose weight, but he sharply interrupts her, asking her about the investigation he assigned to her the previous day. She enthusiastically tells him that she has finally managed to discover what he requested of her after a great effort. Ravis's memory returns to the end of his previous battle, where he found pieces of blue candy lying next to one of the defeated gang members. and when he picked up one and smelled it, he confirmed that it carries the scent of the demonic, devouring flower. And he realized that taking this candy is what gave his enemies that sudden power. He wonders in bewilderment how they managed to obtain this flower that is supposed to have gone extinct even in the demon world, and he knows that growing it requires the presence of a host. Returning to the present, Street tells him that the name of the candy is Blue Ribbon, and that it is spreading among humans as weight loss pills and nutritional supplements. And when he asks her about its ingredients, she admits to the difficulty of tracing its source given the secrecy of its manufacture. Ravis seethes with anger, believing that she has not reached any useful information, so Street hurries to deny that. She explains that the product has spread quickly and in large quantities recently, and suggests that they can track the concentrated demonic energy to reach the place of the manufacturing company. Ravis rebukes her, questioning why she didn't go herself already, so she answers him in fear that Banbi had ordered her to go with him. The mention of Bambi raises Ravis's suspicions, so he asks her sharply if she is reporting everything to him. Street breaks down crying and apologizes, explaining that she is just a lowly creature forced to obey the orders of both of them. Ravis puts Street before a decisive choice, ordering her to choose her master immediately, either him or Banbi, so she freezes in her place, unable to make the decision. He offers her an attractive offer, promising her that if she chooses him, he will help her rise from just being a lowly creature, while his dark demonic aura manifests behind him. Happiness overwhelms Street, so she prostrates at his feet, declaring her complete loyalty and offering him her blood and body as a token of obedience. Ravis smiles a smile of satisfaction and extends his hand to accept her loyalty, then announces as Ravis Bendika that he has taken her as his personal follower. With the completion of the covenant, a small spectral creature representing her connection to her old master emerges from her head, so Ravis looks at it with a triumphant smile, declaring to Banbi that his role has ended. After securing her loyalty, he orders her to set off immediately to the place where the Blue Ribbon shipments are gathered, and she responds to his order with enthusiasm. They arrive at night at a vast container area where silence and darkness prevail. Street confirms that this is the place where the demonic energy of the Blue Ribbon is concentrated, so Ravis decides to open one of the containers to check. But she notices that the container is locked with thick chains, which hinders their mission. Ravis orders her to step away. Then with one blow supported by his demonic power, he shatters the lock and chains, leaving Street in a state of bewilderment. With the shattering of the lock, the container door opens slowly, and they stand at the entrance, poised for what they will find inside. But what surprises them first is a foul and repulsive smell that forces them to retreat and cover their noses. They discover that the entire container is nothing but a shipment of the devouring flower, which glows with an ominous purple aura. Ravis immediately realizes that this is the true source of the Blue Ribbon drug. This scene sparks a painful memory in Ravis's mind from his past, where he was training harshly with his uncle. In that memory, his uncle mocks his weak and rude nephew, so the young Ravis replies by cursing him and calling him a disgusting uncle. The fight intensifies, and his uncle screams that if he is not kind, it is better for him to die. With a strong blow, he overcomes Ravis and throws him from the edge of a high cliff, while Ravis screams, cursing his uncle as he falls down. The uncle stands on the edge and laughs hysterically, wondering if he will die this easily. Then he goes down to catch up with him. The small Ravis's body hits the ground forcefully, and suddenly his uncle appears beside him, mockingly asking him if he has died yet, which causes Ravis shock and surprise. When he looks around, he discovers that he has fallen into a vast cave filled with the devouring flower, which was growing on countless corpses, so he realizes that this is the place where it was hiding all the time. Shock fills his eyes as he grasps the horror of the scene. The memory takes him back to old teachings about the origin of this flower, with the division of light and darkness, and the creation of incompatible beings that cannot merge. Other entities flourished. There was a flower that sprouted initially where these entities gathered, and fed on the remnants of angels and demons, and its deepest desire was to devour. A terrifying truth manifests in his memory that the ultimate goal of this flower is the annihilation of the entire world. The memory takes him back to the distant past, where he stood as a small child beside his uncle before a vortex of massive purple demonic energy, as if they were preparing to face a great destiny. Returning to the present, Street expresses her confusion, explaining that she had heard that the Demon King, Ravis's father, had completely purified the demon world and exterminated this flower entirely, so it was supposed to have been burned to the ground at that time. Ravis wonders how such a massive quantity of it can exist here if the rumors were true. And he surprises Street with startling information, which is that this flower originally appeared in the human world, which causes her surprise. He continues his explanation that the human world is a middle ground where light and darkness mix chaotically, for it does not belong to either side, but it is capable of leading to either of them. Ravis recalls what he learned that human history also mentions that they managed to exterminate this flower thousands of years ago, but what he sees before him now contradicts everything he knows. And if it appeared in both worlds at the same time and was eliminated in both, then this leads him to one conclusion, which is that its return must be the doing of someone. A sudden voice and a ray of light piercing the darkness interrupt his thinking, while Street tries to grasp the idea of there being a mastermind for this matter. A group of men led by a person questioning, in a threatening tone, the identity of these two intruders who dared to sneak into this place appears from the darkness. One of the gang members recognizes Ravis immediately, so he screams, calling Jae-hee and telling her that this is the same bastard who came to the tattoo shop. Street confirms to Ravis in a low voice that that woman is indeed Jin Jae-hee. Jae-hee steps forward in extreme anger and screams in Ravis's face, questioning his identity, how he dares to destroy her shop, and how he managed to find this secret place. Ravis ignores her questions and directs a direct question to her about whether she is responsible for managing these containers. So she answers him with defiance and mockery, questioning what he will do if she is. Ravis continues his questioning calmly, with his eyes glowing, asking her if she knows the raw materials used in the manufacture of these goods. Jae-hee smiles a malicious smile and accuses him of trying to steal their precious trade secrets. Ravi sighs, admitting that the matter does not concern him directly, but adds with a firm look that leaving this matter without interference will leave a feeling of bitterness in himself. Jae-hee turns to her men and takes out from her pockets pieces of the blue ribbon drug, warning them of the consequences of failing again and what their leader Yong Mo will do to them. Then she offers them those pieces, announcing that it is a special distribution for them. Signs of greed and eagerness appear on her men's faces, and they wonder in amazement if they can truly get it for free. Jae-hee sternly orders them to be silent and swallow it immediately, so they devour it with extreme greed. Ravis realizes that the confrontation is imminent, so he orders Street to stay hidden, explaining that her current magic power will not be a help but a hindrance, and she responds to his order immediately. The features of the gangmen start changing and distorting, so Jae-hee orders them with a frightening smile to crush that bastard. The transformed men rush toward Ravis, who watches them coldly, describing them in himself as arrogant fools drowned in their vanity and ignorant of what truly poisons them. While his eye glows intensely, Ravis realizes that the place is already overflowing with demonic energy that he can exploit, so he challenges his opponents to come forward. The transformed men lunge at him, but he counters them brilliantly, dodging one's punch and directing a violent counterblow that releases a cry of pain from the attacker. The fierce battle continues, as Ravis faces their sequential attacks with skill and power, dropping them one by one. Then one of the attackers grabs him from behind. He directs a powerful punch to the face of one of his opponents, who screams in intense pain, while Ravis grinds his teeth in anger, determined to end him quickly to free himself from him. But the assailant manages to throw him to the ground. Then he counters the attack of a man of huge stature. Street watches the scene from her hiding place, while screaming in horror and anxiety for her master, while Jae-hee is content with watching the battle with a confident and mocking smile. Ravis finds himself surrounded by men whose faces have turned into distorted demonic masks, and they all lunge at him in a coordinated attack. He blocks their attacks with difficulty, and realizes that their power has increased significantly, questioning if it's because they took a larger dose of the drug this time. Then he decides that he must change his strategy, so he turns toward the open container full of demonic flowers. With a decisive move, he throws it in their faces and a wave of purple aura explodes, sweeping over his opponents, standing at the container entrance. The gangmen collapse, coughing and suffocating from the effect of the pure demonic energy, which it seems their polluted bodies cannot withstand. Ravis too feels the weight of the situation, so he admits in himself that he cannot stand this vulgar scent emanating from the flower. But he realizes at the same time that his demonic energy reacts more strongly with this widespread evil, which gives him a massive boost of power. With his renewed power, Ravis returns to the attack, directing a violent blow to one of the men, and drops him to the ground forcefully, so the other screams in pain. After that, he concentrates his energy in his fist and delivers a devastating punch with which blood flies and completely finishes off one of his opponents. He continues in his violent fight, so one of them kicks him, so he manages to dodge the attack brilliantly, grabs him and flips him in the air. And without mercy, he stomps hard on the leg of the man lying on the ground who is screaming in pain. An attacker with a wild face rushes toward him while screaming, vowing him death, but Ravis dodges him brilliantly and delivers a powerful blow to him, and ends the battle with a knockout blow, and the last of the assailants falls. Jae-hee stands, having frozen in her place from the horror of the shock, unable to believe what she sees, and questioning in terror about the reality of this being who managed to defeat her men alone. Ravis turns toward her while gasping, and his eye glows with an ominous red flash, which strikes her with panic. And as he stands up, a massive demonic aura manifests behind him, revealing his terrifying true nature. Jae-hee looks at him in a state of total panic, as she wonders if he is a ghost or something else beyond imagination. The scene suddenly moves to a lit stage, where a sign announces a competition, and a small girl stands performing a ballet dance gracefully under the lights. Elsewhere, a woman named Kang Hyun-ju confirms the girl's identity as her daughter Yuri. Kang Hyun-ju sits in a luxurious room, watching her daughter's performance on a huge screen, commenting that with such skills, she could have easily joined a prestigious ballet troupe. Her talk is interrupted by the entry of two men into the room, so she receives them, describing them as her important client. But soon her behavior changes to hostility, so she screams in their faces, denouncing their intrusion into her office in this way. Coldly, Youngmo apologizes for her describing them as thugs, then puts a large glass jar full of blue pills on the table, announcing that he came personally to deliver a large order of blue ribbons. The woman is struck by shock and terror as she sees the jar, and her terrified face is reflected on its glass. Youngmo asks her not to worry, asserting that they take care of everything themselves, from manufacturing to sales. Kang Hyun-ju wonders with extreme anxiety whether this product is truly safe, so the man asks her mockingly if she's asking this question only now. Then he directs his gaze to her dancing daughter's picture on the screen and reveals a horrific truth, which is that she has already fed her daughter a large quantity of this drug before pushing her to climb that stage. On the stage, the horrific effects of the drug start appearing on the dancer Yuri's body, as her neck twists frighteningly and her foot twists in an unnatural way. So her mother looks at the screen in a state of shock, whispering her daughter's name in terror. The girl's features distort and suspicious facial expressions appear on her, while Youngmo watches the scene coldly, commenting mockingly that she must have been in a hurry in reference to her mother. And while the girl takes a distorted and painful dance pose, the man asks her mother in a tone carrying a hidden reproach about the quantity she fed her daughter. The mother screams in a state of panic, begging her daughter to stop, while the girl's body bends backward in an impossible way, breaking every natural limit. The girl falls on the stage floor and lets out a loud cry, and chaos and screaming pervade the hall as the panicked audience wonders what is happening, while security men rush toward her. The mother collapses in despair, then her grief turns into a raging anger, so she screams in Youngmo's face, accusing them of lying and reminding him that they assured her there were no side effects. Youngmo replies to her coldly and decisively, revealing that their promises were conditioned on adhering to the recommended dose only, indirectly throwing the blame on her. Then, he points to the girl's body lying on the ground, which appears lifeless, and tells her indifferently that there is no longer any hope for her survival. He adds with a threat that she must now continue to satisfy her daughter's false desires, in reference to her addiction, just to keep her alive, which makes the mother scream in terror while she clutches the jar. And he asserts to her that she has now become their important client, and that her daughter will not be able to live for one day without this drug. The mother completely collapses and screams in pain about the size of her investments that were lost in her daughter, revealing her true motives. Youngmo looks at her with a triumphant smile, while she collapses on the table in total submission. Suddenly his phone rings, and the name Jin Jae-hee appears on the screen, so he looks at it in surprise, wondering about the reason for this call. On the phone screen, Jae-hee appears while being held and apologizes in fear to Youngmo. Then Ravis appears from behind her and asks him directly if he is the boy who makes the blue ribbons. Youngmo is struck by bewilderment, questioning the identity of this intruder, and Ravis's calm voice comes to him through the phone, asserting that he is indeed the requested person and asking him to take a look. Youngmo ends the call in a hurry and heads to the client to tell her coldly that an urgent matter has arisen. Back at the container yard, Ravi stands amidst the defeated gangmen and asks Street about the reason for humans taking drugs, so she answers him sharply that they are stupid and arrogant. Ravis adds, while contemplating a pill of the drug, that even when taking it, they possess excessive confidence that they will not become addicted, and the reason for that is their lack of something to believe in, which pushes them to cling to trivial things like these. Suddenly, Street draws his attention to someone coming, while Jae-hee screams the name Youngmo, announcing the arrival of her leader. Youngmo appears from among the trees and asks Ravis calmly if he is looking for him, linking him to the tattoo shop incident. Ravis replies with disdain, asserting that he does not care about trash like him, but he directs a specific question to him about the source of his obtaining that substance. He adds that it is supposed to be difficult for a mere human to obtain it. The phrase mere human sparks Yongmo's confusion and shock, so doubts start haunting him about the reality of this mysterious boy. The memory returns to Yongmo of a painful past, where he lived in a dilapidated apartment full of scattered medicines and finds his father unconscious. He was begging him desperately to give him more medicine, and even kicking him in a desperate attempt to wake him up. But he soon realizes the horrific truth, which is that his father has died. And instead of grief, he feels bitterness, commenting that his father lived his life as an addict and died as one. Then his feelings explode in a cry of anger and despair, not over the loss of his father, but over the loss of his source of addiction, questioning how he will get his dose now. Yongmo's memory continues in displaying that horrific scene, where he was screaming in despair, questioning how he's supposed to get his dose now after his father's death. But suddenly, the lifeless body's eyes glow with a demonic purple light, so the young Yongmo looks in a state of terror and bewilderment. His father's body stands up slowly, so Yongmo retreats while calling him in a trembling voice, unable to believe he was not dead. Then, a dark aura emerges from the body, manifesting in the form of a demonic entity with glowing eyes and a mysterious voice. Questions if this man's death is a sad thing. Yongmo is struck by shock, so the entity offers him an offer, explaining that if his grief desires so, he will return this man to him. But Yongmo explodes in a hysterical laugh, rejecting the idea of grief and announcing mockingly that his father has finally died, so why would he feel sorrow? Then he screams in the demonic entity's face that he does not need a trivial father. Rather, all he needs is the drugs he provided him. The entity accepts his response calmly and offers him a new offer, ordering him to feed his father's corpse to the devouring flower. The entity extends through the body a glowing purple flower, explaining that by this act, a covenant will be established between them, and Yongmo will get everything he strongly desires. Then the entity warns him that if any person deceives his loyalty or denies this flower, then he must kill them, asserting that this covenant will always protect him. So Yongmo's eyes glow with the same demonic light. A mad smile is drawn on his face as he grabs the flower, having accepted the offer in full. And without hesitation, he raises the flower and its thorny roots, and strikes his father's corpse with it, concluding by that the Dark Covenant. Returning to the present, Yongmo repeats Ravis's words with disdain, questioning if he is really a mere human. Ravis notices his confidence, commenting that he must have something he believes in. Yongmo confirms that, admitting that some entity has given him a new life. Ravis immediately realizes, as he believed, that Yongmo has made a deal with a demon. Ravis smiles mockingly, commenting that he doesn't know what kind of trash his opponent believes in, but the matter is pathetic for both of them, for that demon and that human. Yongmo seethes with anger from the insult of his master and orders his men to drag Ravis to him immediately. Then, Street rushes from her hiding place while screaming in anger, annoyed at having to run again. But Ravi seems to have felt bored with this confrontation, so he decides to end the matter quickly. Elsewhere, an ambulance hurries through the dark city streets, while the voice of one of the gang members comments that orders have risen massively since the launch of the I'm Here app. Inside the car, Kang Hyun-ju sits beside her daughter Yuri, who has turned into a distorted form, and the gang member thinks that the product is achieving a brilliant success, asserting that increasing the number of clients throughout the country will be an easy matter at this rate, questioning mockingly if their company is on its way to becoming global. In the headquarters, the gang members brag that their leader, Yongmo, has already opened distribution routes in China and Japan, and that everything is possible with his presence. And in the monitoring room, Lim Sion sits in despair before a screen displaying the rapid spread of the app, and blames himself because the drugs are spreading at this speed because of the app he made. Terror takes over him as he bites his nails, wishing in silence that someone would stop this disaster. Back at the battlefield, Jae-hee screams, pointing to one of the defeated men, and asserting to her leader that this intruder is not human. Ravi stands calmly amidst the chaos, questioning in a low voice when the person he's waiting for will come. Yongmo remembers the demonic entity's voice as he issues his final order to kill everyone who denies the devouring flower. With total submission, Yongmo confirms that he will execute the orders, revealing the identity of his mysterious master, who was none other than Lord Power Hilt. The words of the Covenant echo again, as the demonic entity asserts the necessity of killing any person who betrays loyalty or denies the flower. Yongmo agrees immediately, announcing that the matter will be executed without hesitation. Returning to the present, Jae-hee kneels on the ground and screams in despair, warning Yongmo and telling him that Ravis is not just a normal student, but perhaps is connected to the makers of this new drug. Ravis hears these accusations in confusion, questioning about this new drug and about the reason for involving his name in the matter. And before he can grasp the situation, Yongmo appears behind him in a swift flash, and his eyes glow with an omen of doom, which strikes Ravis with surprise. A violent confrontation erupts, So Ravis notices immediately that his opponent's speed and power exceed what he faced before, realizing that he is at a completely different level from others. And Yongmo wonders in amazement about how Ravis managed to block his attacks, speculating that he perhaps has also attained his master's blessing. Yongmo announces with blind loyalty that this entity is his only god whom no one shares with him. Then the picture becomes clear in Ravis's mind, so he recognizes that greedy look and the foul smell emanating from his opponent. And with a confident smile, he reveals that he has known his god's identity, calling him by his full name, Power Hilt. Yongmo is struck by an overwhelming shock, unable to believe how this boy can know his master's secret name. Ravis exploits his shock to direct a harsh insult to him, describing his master as a pathetic loser, and considering that Yongmo's standards are low for choosing him. Yongmo seethes with anger and screams in Ravis's face, ordering him not to insult the only being who took pity on his misery. Ravis continues his mockery, asserting that his master must have felt very sorry for his condition, and that Yongmo was desperate to the point that this being had to come out of his hiding place just to find him. Yongmo seethes with anger and screams that his master is not someone trash like Ravis can talk about. And with a look full of contempt, Ravis recalls the memory of Power Hilt, asserting that he has already ascended in this world. The images cascade in his mind from the bloody battle he fought against the Hilt family, and he clearly remembers how that coward, Power Hilt, was running alone to save his life. Ravis boils with anger as he thinks how this coward is treated now, as if he's of the king's, and wonders in indignation about the place where he's hiding now. The fires of anger are fueled in Yongmo's soul from Ravis's continuous insults, so a massive demonic aura explodes from him. Ravis covers his nose in disgust from the foul smell emanating from him, which confirms his origin to him. Yongmo completely loses his mind, so he lunges toward Ravis while screaming, vowing to slaughter any person who insults his master by his hands. And he lunges at him with a brutal attack, then throws him to the ground forcefully. Ravis receives the blow with difficulty, while Yongmo stands over him ready to direct another blow. He directs a violent blow at him while repeating his master's name, considering that what he does is in his name. Yongmo continues his insane attack while screaming. Ravis grinds his teeth under the weight of the blows and realizes that his opponent has completely lost his mind to the demonic energy and that he's trying to kill him indeed. And in a decisive moment, Yongmo directs a knockout punch while releasing a loud cry while Street screams from afar in terror, begging her master Ravis to stop. Under the weight of Yongmo's crushing punches, Ravis realizes that his human body has reached the absolute limit of its endurance. Street watches the scene from her hiding place in terror, desperately wishing they were in the demon world, where her master Ravis would have been able to unleash his true powers. In the demon world, Barkan and Bambi observe the battle through a magic mirror. Bambi comments that the test body using the devouring flower has fully synchronized with it, admitting he assumed Ravis could handle a mere test subject, especially with the demon bloodstone implanted in him. But he adds anxiously that at this rate Ravis might actually die this time, and if that happens, his soul will vanish forever. Barkan asks Bambi what Ravis hates more than anything else, and Bambi replies that Ravis hates almost everything, making it difficult to pinpoint just one thing. Bambi comments on Ravis's fiery temperament, wondering from whom he inherited this trait, while Barkan avoids looking at him, thinking to himself that he knows exactly who is meant. Barkan reveals the answer, explaining that what Ravis hates most is filth. Then he laughs, asserting that Ravis is completely obsessed with cleanliness and cannot stand anything dirty. On the ground, while grinding his teeth in pain, Ravis utters the word filthy as his disgust reaches its peak. He screams to himself that he can no longer bear the foul and repulsive stench emanating from Yongmo. In a sudden burst of anger, Ravis grabs Yongmo's wrist with immense strength that pushes him back, much to the latter's astonishment. Ravis looks at his left hand, feeling as if he has reclaimed a part of his former self. After a moment of suspenseful silence, Ravis stands on his feet as demonic energy wraps around his arm, declaring that he has no desire to touch that stinking carcass. He then decides to end the matter quickly and lunges toward his stunned opponent. He delivers a lightning-fast punch that hits Yongmo directly in the face, making the latter scream in intense pain. Yongmo screams in disbelief, wondering how a mere human can possess this kind of power, while Street screams enthusiastically, cheering her master Ravis's name. Ravis mockingly repeats Yongmo's words, questioning if he truly sees him as a mere human, while the phantom of his true demonic form appears behind him. Then he delivers another violent punch that throws Yongmo to the ground. Yongmo falls forcefully, and his followers scream in panic while he crawls backward, cursing the situation and asking Ravis in terror about his true identity. Ravis approaches him in the blink of an eye, ordering him to shut his stinking mouth as he delivers a finishing blow. Yongmo falls to the ground unconscious after the crushing strike. In the demon world, Banbi looks on in shock, wondering where this power suddenly came from. Barkin explains that once the test body awakened, the foul stench must have given Ravis a real headache. He adds that Ravis likely couldn't stand being near him because he hates nothing more than filth. Barkin reveals with a cunning smile that when Ravis's obsession with cleanliness reaches its limit, it triggers an awakening that allows him to draw a portion of his original power. Bambi looks at him in amazement, wondering if this means Ravis can use his former powers, even while in a human body. He asserts that even with the demon bloodstone, it is supposed to be impossible for a sinner to manifest his full demonic power in this world. Barkin smiles, declaring that Ravis is no ordinary person, regardless of what anyone says. Then he adds proudly that his nephew is exactly like him. After Yongmo falls defeated to the ground, groaning in pain, Ravis turns to him coldly, calling him a fool and telling him to consider himself lucky. He explains that the reason for his luck is that Ravis is forbidden from committing murder in this body. Yongmo screams in disbelief, wondering how this could be possible, for he is the one who received Lord Power's blessing personally. Suddenly, a desperate idea flashes in his mind, and he realizes with a demonic smile that all he needs is more of his master's blue ribbon. But Ravis senses his intentions and warns him not to even think about it, asserting that he will end this fight at a certain point without killing him. Ravis prepares to deliver a final blow, and purple demonic energy gathers in his hand. Then he lunges toward him with lightning speed and delivers a devastating punch that completely crushes him. After finishing him off entirely, Ravi stands calmly, while Yongmo is left unconscious and disfigured. Ravis breathes a sigh of relief, covering his nose with his hand, commenting with satisfaction that the foul stench has finally begun to fade. In the gang's headquarters, Lim Sion sits in terror watching his computer screen, which displays terrifying statistics about the I'm Here app, realizing that things have spiraled completely out of control and that this is not what he wanted at all. Images from his harsh school life flash through his mind, schools imposed upon them and relationships forced within closed classrooms. He remembers his daily struggle for survival, avoiding becoming a victim of bullies and having to pretend to like things he did not. He continued pretending to hate other things and suffered from the inability to form true, honest relationships. His noble goal for creating the app appears in his memory. All he wanted was to help people find the relationships they truly needed. Returning to the bitter reality, he screams in anger and despair, asserting to himself that he did not create this app to be used for selling drugs. Outside, the gang members notice that the apps on their phones have started acting strangely, and they wonder angrily about the nature of this glitch. Sion realizes his time is running out, so he rushes and uses a chair to block the door firmly. The gang members start banging on the door violently, shouting in his face, and ordering him to open the door immediately to see what he is doing. Sion stands before his computer with determination, realizing he must delete the app permanently, while one of the gang members continues shouting from outside, threatening him for refusing to open the door. Sion presses his computer in despair, trying to speed up the deletion process as a red light flashes as a danger warning. At that moment, the gang members violently smash the window and burst into the room. One of them rushes in, cursing him, while another grabs him from behind violently, questioning what he is doing. The attacker throws Sion to the ground, while the others realize with shock that the deletion bar on the screen is advancing, and that this bastard is bringing down the entire server. One of them screams in panic, ordering him to be stopped immediately, and the other adds with fear that their leader Yongmo will kill them all if he returns, and finds what happened. Despite the blows he receives while on the ground, Sion remains determined to hold out until the deletion is complete. His eye catches a piece of broken glass, and he decides to use it at any cost. In a desperate move, Sion cuts the attacker with the glass piece and frees himself from his grip. Then he grabs a nearby fire extinguisher and turns to face them with eyes full of determination and anger, shouting that this app is his and they are just evil bastards. He releases the extinguisher's contents in their faces, and a thick cloud of white dust fills the room, causing them shock and anger as they wonder if he has completely lost his mind. Through the cloud, Sion watches the deletion bar finally complete, feeling relief despite the heavy coughing, realizing he has succeeded in his mission. But one of the gang members emerges from the cloud in a raging anger and grabs him forcefully. The attacker pins him to the ground and orders his companions to bring something to bind him. From within the cloud, coughing and a voice confirming the execution of the order are heard. While suffocating under the attacker's grip, Sion feels despair, believing this is the most he can do and that the end has come. Suddenly, from the middle of the thick cloud, a calm and terrifying voice asks how anyone dares to touch his servant. The attacker turns in confusion, and suddenly a hand emerges from the cloud and grabs his face forcefully. It turns out that the newcomer is Ravis, who easily knocks the man to the ground. One of his companions screams the attacker's name in a state of bewilderment. Mercilessly, Ravis rains down a violent blow on the attacker, leaving the others watching in horror. In the blink of an eye, Ravis moves through the cloud and defeats the rest of the gang members with swift and lethal moves. Ravi stands amidst the defeated, his eye glowing red, asserting to himself that he will not allow anyone to take what belongs to him even if it costs him his life. Then Cyan calls him with a weak and confused voice, unable to comprehend what happened. The memory takes Cyan back to an earlier time where he was sitting with Ravis and enthusiastically showing him an app he was developing. He explained to him that the app, named I'm Here, is a platform that brings together people with shared interests, allowing them to share their locations and form study groups. Ravis expressed great admiration for his friend's ability to make such a thing. Then he asked him about a flashing red button in the app's interface. Cyan admitted that he felt very sorry for not being able to help him when Taewoo's gang assaulted him last time. He explained that he couldn't find him then, and that's what pushed him to create this feature specifically. He explained that when this button is pressed, his location is immediately sent to pre-selected friends, and asked him to use it next time if something bad happened to him. With a sincere smile, Cyan promised him that he would come to help no matter the cost, whether by reporting to the authorities or gathering friends. Ravis thanked him warmly and asked him to download the app as well, and Cyan happily agreed. Returning to the chaotic present, as Cyan weakly calls his friend's name, Ravis raises his phone to show him a screen receiving an emergency signal from the I'm Here app and asks him calmly if he was the one who sent it. Cyan's eyes widen as he realizes that Ravis received his signal, and a tear forms in his eye after understanding that his friend came to save him and that his app succeeded in achieving the purpose for which it was made. Amidst the remnants of the battle, Lim Cyan prostrates on the ground in deep gratitude, thanking Minho in fragmented words for saving him, while Ravi stands silently over him. Elsewhere, Street was binding Jin Jae-hee, who writhes in a desperate attempt to break free, questioning angrily the source of this small demoness's strength. Street sharply orders her to stop resisting, while Jae-hee groans in pain. Street catches sight of her master Ravis approaching with Cyan and calls out to him enthusiastically. Jae-hee screams in terror upon seeing Ravis and hurries to escape, so Ravis coldly orders Street to leave her, explaining that she is no longer of use to them. Ravis takes a look at the place and concludes that all the devouring flowers those bastards had are gone. At the container site, a massive fire breaks out, while the firefighters who just arrived confirm they will control the fire before it spreads. But they are shocked by what they find amidst the flames. There were bound corpses, causing them panic and questioning the nature of this horrific scene. It turns out these are the gang members Ravis defeated, left to their inevitable fate. Later, Ravis, Cyan, and Street walk through the quiet city streets at night. Ravis realizes in his heart that his uncle and Banby are exploiting him to clean up the mess left by the Hilt family. He vows in silent anger that he will not let this matter pass lightly when he returns to the demon world. In Cyan's room, the latter anxiously asks him if he is sure he doesn't need to go to the hospital, but Ravis rejects the idea with disdain, considering it an annoyance. Cyan renews his thanks to Minho, admitting he didn't truly expect him to come, despite sending the distress signal. Ravis tries to pretend his arrival was a mere coincidence, but Street interrupts him with a loud fake cough to expose him. She whispers in his ear, questioning if he is really trying to downplay his heroic rescue of his friend. Memory recalls the scene of Ravis interrogating one of the gang members, where he threatened him to reveal the way to their hideout. Then Jae-hee asked him bitterly if he was doing all this for his friend Lim Cyan. Ravis remembers how he was surprised then, realizing that his first servant's absence from school was due to his kidnapping by this gang. And when Jae-hee asked him about the reason for his actions if it wasn't his friend, Ravis was looking at the distress signal on his phone. Back in the room, Street continues her rebuke of Ravi, asserting that human relationships are not built on coincidences. She asks him if he intends to live in this world for a year or two and then return to his world without forming any real bonds. She points to Cyan, who is looking at him with admiration and gratitude, as if he were a hero who descended to save him. Cyan interrupts the scene by asking about the identity of this strange girl, and Ravis coldly answers that she is his follower, Street. The word follower shocks Cyan, who begins to have doubts about his friend's reality. He asks him hesitantly about the sudden and unrealistic change in his personality, and about his follower's strange clothes. His real fears manifest in his thoughts, as he believes Minho has become involved with a dangerous organization. Ravis realizes that with the increasing dangers surrounding his servant, he can no longer continue hiding the truth. He decides to reveal everything, telling Cyan his suspicions were correct, then places his hand on his chest and declares his true identity as Ravis Bendika, son of the great demon king who descended from the demon world. Cyan is struck by overwhelming shock and stares at him in bewilderment, so Ravis calmly tells him that this is the current situation, and since he has known the truth, he will have to help him in his missions from now on. Lim Sion meets this astounding confession with total bewilderment, repeating Ravis's words in confusion, describing them as unbelievable nonsense while trembling. Suddenly, Street in her cat form jumps into his lap, and he lets out a scream of fear from this unexpected surprise. Ravis feels exhausted from the long day's events, so he leaves the task of explanation to Street, asking her to clarify the matter to his friend. The cat addresses Sion directly in a playful tone, asking him to listen carefully to what she will say. The sight of a talking cat is the straw that breaks the camel's back for Sion as he screams in total panic before collapsing unconscious. Elsewhere, far from this chaos, a man helps the severely injured Yongmo stand up, asserting that they have burned everything and will withdraw separately. Yongmo seethes with anger and malice while trembling, believing he was about to eliminate the bastard who defeated him. Suddenly, a mysterious cloaked figure intercepts their path. The truck driver stops to ask his identity, but the mysterious being quickly silences him with magical power. The cloaked being approaches Yongmo and coldly calls him a miserable child. Yongmo immediately recognizes his visitor's identity, calling him Lord Banbi, and vowing in anger that he will definitely kill that bastard. Banbi calmly extends his hand, inviting him to talk elsewhere. At the fire site, an investigator arrives at the scene and receives a report stating that the fire has been extinguished and all drug dealers subdued. She wonders in confusion who could have done all this. She contemplates the nature of the drug and realizes it is extremely serious, especially since these drugs obtained approval from the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety. She seethes with anger at the fact it spread in large quantities among young students, cursing those bastards responsible. Suddenly, her colleague collapses on the ground, complaining of a sharp headache, much to her surprise. She rushes to check on him, and he urges her to check the car first. But when she opens the car door, she finds it completely empty, questioning in shock and anger where that bastard disappeared to. In a secret headquarters, Yongmo kneels, pleading before a demon named Power, asking him for another chance and more drugs to be able to kill his opponent. He screams in despair that he is capable of eliminating him if he gets more power. Power holds a glowing, devouring flower and coldly rebukes Yongmo, asking him if he realizes the value of the precious flowers he burned. Then he reveals to him a horrific laboratory where countless human bodies are lined up, used as hosts to grow those demonic flowers. Power describes humans as despicable creatures that cannot be trusted, lamenting his precious flowers. Yongmo repeats his pleas for a final chance, vowing to kill that bastard. But Power, without mercy, attacks him and plants the flower directly in his eye, making Yongmo scream in excruciating pain. He screams in pain that his eyes are burning, so Power reminds him of the blood oath he swore to him. Then he orders him to prove his final loyalty through those flowers that have become part of him, and the flower grows from his head while he lets out an endless scream of agony. Meanwhile, in her destroyed office, Jin Jae-hee searches in panic for her wallet, determined to escape and save her life at any cost. While searching desperately, screaming and questioning where it is, a strange man with a wild look appears behind her. The man smiles a malicious smile and tells her that he went to the office and found the police there, so he decided to come here just in case. And he found her indeed. Jae-hee freezes in her place from terror, asking him about his identity and screaming at him, questioning why he causes all these problems. The man screams in Jae-hee's face, accusing her that she is the one who did this to his forehead, then starts hallucinating, pleading with her to give him more blue ribbon. Jae-hee calls him a crazy bastard, wondering about the massive amount he must have taken alone. She searches for anything to defend herself, so she grabs a wooden stick while cursing the situation and wondering where this bastard came from. But the attacker lunges at her in a swift motion and delivers a violent blow that throws her to the ground, while she screams in pain. The man writhes, muttering fragmented words asking for blue ribbon, then completely loses control, transforming into a distorted, monstrous creature and letting out a terrifying roar while screaming the drug's name. Jae-hee feels despair as she breathes her last, rejecting the idea of dying in this horrific way. In her moment of despair, a mysterious purple aura appears, and a new being reveals his presence, thinking to himself that if this happens, Ravis will hate it more. Jae-hee crawls on the ground in a pitiful state, weakly questioning the newcomer's identity, then begs him to save her. But the demonic being, appearing in his full form, apologizes with a cold smile, claiming he doesn't have the power to do that, and mockingly adds that if her fate is to fall into hell, she should simply accept it. Jae-hee curses the situation in despair, repeating his words about hell in a state of disbelief. Demon Banbi continues his talk with a cunning smile, offering her a mysterious offer, telling her that he will allow her body to remain in this place. The scene moves to a majestic palace in the demon world, where an imposing demonic figure with white hair welcomes her younger brother, Barkin. But she soon confronts him, accusing him of plotting some scheme since the moment Ravis was sent to the human world. With a tone full of anger, she denounces his daring to use her son in his plans. Barkin laughs, admitting she has discovered his matter, then reassures her not to worry because Ravis has grown up now, and reveals to her that he did not send him without protection, but planted the demon blood stone in his body. The woman is shocked by this confession and explodes in his face, screaming that he has completely lost his mind and accusing him that by this act he is declaring to the whole world that the Demon King's son is alone and weak in the human world. Barkin tries to calm her, asking her to start trusting Ravis's abilities more. She explains to him that it's not about her lack of trust in Ravis, but her anxiety about the way the world itself moves at the moment. She stands between two contradictory worlds, asserting that the world now is so unstable that the smallest crack might cause everything to collapse. Barkin insists that Ravis is stronger than she thinks, that he resembles him in his aggressive temperament, and that his combat power exceeds anyone else's. His sister hits him in anger, screaming that these traits are the problem itself, then threatens him decisively that they will die together if Ravis's soul suffers the slightest harm. Barkin groans from the blow, complaining that she still hits him on the head despite his age, then calls out to Banby in a childish tantrum, ordering him to search all magic books for a way to get rid of all older sisters in the world. The sister screams in Barkan's face that she doesn't want a crazy younger brother like him, while Banby tries to calm the situation, asking them both to calm down a bit. But she grabs and chokes him, so Bambi comments to himself that it is a true miracle that Ravis managed to survive and grow in such a chaotic environment. The scene returns to the room of Sion, who finally regained consciousness, and hesitantly and tensely asks Minho if he is truly a demon. Ravis calmly answers that humans call them by this name, and Street in the cat form is happy to hear the word we, considering it an acknowledgement of her. After grasping the truth, Sion asks in fear if his fate is to go to hell after death. Ravis reassures him that the real hell is here, and offers him to come with him to the demon world where no one will be able to touch him. Then, with an arrogant smile, Ravis declares that as the sole heir to the Demon King, he is his master now, and Sion reacts in panic, rejecting this protection and fate. Ravis's features turn to anger, and he threatens him that if he tries to back out, he will pluck out his eyes and suck them as if they were candy, striking Sion with intense terror. After a moment of silence, Sion asks with tears in his eyes a fateful question, wondering what happened to the real Minho. Street, in her cat form, explains to the collapsed limb Sion that Minho was doomed to die anyway, and that the official law states that only the bodies of those like him can be used as vessels. Sion is struck by shock and denial, questioning in confusion and pain about the reason that made his friend Minho's fate death. Ravis tries to console him with his cold style, asking him not to get depressed, as the fate of them all is to meet in the demon world after a few decades. Sion concludes from his talk that his going to the demon world has become a certainty, so Ravis mocks the broad imagination of humans and asks Street to confirm to him that the demon world is an enjoyable place. Street supports her master's words with great enthusiasm, and describes their world as a place filled with the scent of blood and screams of agony, causing Sion panic, and he begs her to stop. Ravis seriously tells him that he has a long way before that and orders him to treat him as he used to and not let the secret slip from his tongue anywhere. Sion reluctantly agrees, then Ravis complains that his whole body hurts again and announces he is leaving, so Street calls out to him enthusiastically to go with him. On his way back to his apartment, Ravis feels a sharp headache attacking him, so he holds his head, wondering if he overused the bloodstone power. As soon as he enters his house, Minho's sister surprises him by jumping in front of him, carrying a decorated birthday cake and congratulating him with great happiness. Ravis wonders in confusion about the birthday occasion, so the girl tells him that she and her mother worked hard on making this cake since yesterday. Admitting she doesn't guarantee its taste, she playfully puts a colorful party hat on his head and tells him their parents will return home soon. Then she approaches him enthusiastically, suggesting they start the celebration by taking a selfie for his birthday. Ravis notices a bandage on her face and asks her about its reason. She answers with a nervous laugh that she intervened to help an old lady some young men were bullying, trying to downplay the matter, but Ravis calls her out for doing something unnecessary. He thinks to himself that her behavior is strange. She helps others even though she is not strong. Then she interrupts his thoughts and offers him a piece of cake, saying he must be hungry. Ravis tastes the cake and is shocked by this taste, completely new to him, a white, soft, and sweet taste he has never experienced before. Suddenly, Minho's father bursts into the house, angry with egg traces covering his suit, and screams in the face of one of his men, ordering him to find the bastards who threw eggs at him during his election campaign, vowing to kill them all. Then he directs a violent punch to his follower, rebuking him for his inability to prevent this from happening. The mother tries to calm him, but he violently pushes her while screaming at her to leave him alone. His daughter begs him to stop, asserting that her mother did nothing wrong. Then, the father's anger turns toward them, screaming, denouncing how they can eat cake and celebrate while he is being insulted in his campaign. He approaches them in a fit of raging anger, screaming that they are truly a hopeless case. Then, in a violent move, he crushes the birthday cake with his hands, screaming that if he were their real father, they wouldn't even be able to swallow it. The mother begs him, crying, to stop, reminding him that today is Minho's birthday. The father mocks the idea of celebrating a birthday at such a time. Then he casts a look of contempt at Ravi's and describes the house as suffocating, before leaving and closing the door behind him violently. Ravi stands silently amidst the remains of the destroyed cake on the table. His eyes glow with an evil aura, and he questions himself in suppressed anger. How dare he touch what belongs to me? Meanwhile, the mother hugs her crying daughter and apologizes repeatedly, so the girl asks her in sadness about the guilt she committed to deserve all this. Ravi's watches the collapsed family scene, thinking with contempt of that bastard, the stepfather, and describing him in his heart as an infinitely arrogant human. Elsewhere, and inside a luxurious office overlooking the city, at sunset, that same man was pouring his anger on one of his assistants, complaining that Wee Young Mo does not send money but cut off all means of communication with him, and questioning and shouting about where the hell he is hiding. He continues his angry grumbling, explaining that even just taking a picture with Parliament member Park requires them to pay an upfront amount, and curses Wee Young Mo again. His assistant promises to do his best to find the missing man, but the political candidate continues his complaint bitterly, expressing his extreme indignation at having to grovel to a bastard like him just to raise approval rates, and adding that everyone around him acts like scum. His talk is interrupted by another assistant who bursts into the office in a state of panic, announcing that a video clip of his daughter Manhwa is spreading rapidly on the internet. The father asks him sharply about which video he's talking about. The assistant presents him a tablet and urges him to take a look. The video shows Manhwa confronting a group of bullies, screaming at them that she has recorded everything and ordering them to stop. One of them responds with a profanity denouncing her intervention. Manhwa continues shouting in the bully's face, questioning how they dare to assault an old lady. The father watches the scene with an expressionless face, while the bullies in the video try to withdraw after the girl drew attention to them. Then the scene in the video moves to show Manhwa checking on the old lady she saved, who thanks her deeply. The assistant points enthusiastically that revealing that Manhwa is his daughter will greatly help his campaign, asserting that comments on the video are pouring in with praise and support. The father's features change gradually. His harsh look turns into a cunning smile, realizing that this situation might actually form a good image for him before public opinion. Elsewhere, and in front of a modern skyscraper, a mysterious voice questions how a face with this beauty can remain hidden. Inside a luxury apartment, a man calls two people, Han-young and Han-soo, asking them to come to him. He reveals to them a screen displaying Manhwa's picture and tells them with a strange smile that she is very beautiful and that she will be their mother's new vessel. The mother appears, a woman with an imposing appearance, and asks the young woman beside her if she is jealous or if she doesn't like it. The other answers in the negative. The mother explains that that girl possesses the face she bought. Then she coldly announces that she will become her new body. The mother contemplates her hand while watching the screen, lamenting that the human body ages quickly, wrinkles, withers, and becomes ugly. But she considers her discovery of this new and perfect vessel as fated, and Manhwa's face is reflected in her expectant eyes. Her two followers describe the girl as a beautiful doll and wonder coldly about the sound she will make when she breaks. Meanwhile, in the election campaign headquarters, the political candidate is shown breaking news stating that his daughter has become a local hero and that his popularity has risen massively in polls after the video spread. His assistant tells him that Manhwa's story will also be broadcast on the 9 o'clock news, and the father expresses his extreme happiness at this excellent development. He smiles cunningly, commenting that the girl who was talking nonsense has turned into a true blessing, and decides that he will pay more attention to the family from now on. Then he issues orders to his assistant to exploit this media momentum and schedule volunteer and charitable works in his daughter's name to make it a public opinion issue. The assistant then tells him that the CEO of Nox Entertainment, Han Young-ju, has contacted them, which raises the candidate's confusion. The assistant explains that the CEO has seen Manhwa's video and showed interest in her. A malicious smile is drawn on the candidate's face as he repeats the company's name. He collapses on his chair in a state of greedy ecstasy, surrounded by a dark aura as he declares that Manhwa is a true treasure. In another alley at sunset, Lim Sion discovers a shocking truth, which is that Manhwa's stepfather was none other than a candidate for the mayor's position. Ravis asks his friend Lim Sion if he knows much about Manhwa's family. Sion answers that Manhwa never spoke about the matter directly. He adds that all he knew was that Manhwa was on perfect terms with his sister Manhwa and cherished her greatly. The concept of cherishing interests Ravis. So he recalls his uncle's constant advice in the demon world, which dictated the necessity of cherishing everything necessary to enhance his power. His memory recalls a loud scene from the demon world, where his uncle was shouting that this advice includes him too. Bambi agrees enthusiastically, while the young Ravis was looking at them in annoyance at their noise. Ravis returns to his present, questioning how Street came out of the portal. Street responded that she had eaten a lot in the last few days. Ravis wonders mockingly if all demon world portals are this narrow, then asks about Bambi. Street tells him he was not there but left a message. Street displays the message Bambi wrote, which congratulates Ravis on his good work. Mockingly suggests he try hunting something with a stone, then tells him he will send him a small gift and wishes him luck. Ravi seethes with anger from this provocative message and screams that bastard is trying to exploit him as he wishes, and vows to tear Bambi apart before power. Street tries to calm him in vain. Meanwhile, Cyan tells Ravis, while looking at his phone, that Minho's father might indeed get the mayor's position at this rate, for public opinion is entirely in his favor at the moment. Ravis expresses his disdain for the idea of someone like this ruling an entire city. Cyan corrects the term gently, suggesting that the most appropriate word is management and not rule. Ravis thinks in his heart that this man is greedy, just like the creature Cineros. So he asks Street if it's possible that candidate Jung Tai-sik is Cineros who came to the human world. Street wonders in confusion about this name. He explains to her that Cineros is a gluttonous demon from the underworld who eats non-stop to the point that other demons hate him. Street tries to object, explaining that she is the one who manages this area and that Jung Tai-sik is just a human. But Ravis remains skeptical, commenting that a human like him reaching the position of a governor shows the extent of the human world's corruption. Then he turns to Street, who is yawning, and advises her to eat moderately or she herself will turn into Cineros. She answers with obedience. Cyan adds anxiously that candidate Jung Tai-sik seems determined to exploit Minha, and that the situation doesn't look good. Ravis contemplates the relationship between Jung Minho and Jung Minha, and when he returns to his home, he hears someone questioning what will happen to Minha from now on. And he sees mysterious figures in his home. One of them comments that Minha's appearance is wonderful, and that if she just learned to dance, she could debut in the art world quickly, even be the star of the troupe. Minha's mother tries to object, pointing out that her daughter is still a student and never expressed a desire to become an artist. Her husband sharply silences her, asking her not to say such talk before the CEO. The husband adds that hiding the talent of a child she was born with would be wrong. Then he apologizes to the CEO, justifying that his wife is somewhat conservative. The CEO, Han Yong-ju, reassures the mother not to worry, asserting that at Nox Company, they will ensure her daughter can balance school and her artistic activities. She adds that artists these days are different. They can perform and at the same time attend the university they want. Ravis watches this strange man, while the stepfather asks eagerly if all they have to do is sign the contract. The CEO confirms that and describes the contract as ensuring a bright future for both Minha and the political candidate himself. At that moment, she notices Ravi standing in the background. The CEO turns to him and greets him, wondering if he is Minha's brother, then introduces herself as Han Yong-ju, CEO of Nox Entertainment. The stepfather loudly rebukes Minho, ordering him to greet her. But the CEO intervenes gently and tells him that the matter does not call for concern and that all children act like this these days. His friend's words about how much the real Minho cherished his sister Minha echo in Ravis's mind. Memory recalls the past in the demon world, where his uncle stood before him and placed his hand on his chest, assuring him that he would always be on his side. The young Ravi starts in surprise at this statement, denouncing this sudden and unexpected talk from him. His uncle continues his talk in a serious tone, asking him to listen carefully, and warning him that this world is full of hostile forces that always target seizing the ruler's power. He reminds him that he is the heir who must inherit his father Gamadir's throne as the ruler of this world, and that with this grave responsibility, he must embrace his own faction and form his allies. The young Ravis mocks this idea, confidently declaring that he can live with his own power without needing anyone. His uncle laughs at his nephew's confidence and agrees with him that this might be true at the moment, but he tells him that a day will come, and he will meet people to whom his heart is drawn without realizing it. And then he will start changing without feeling himself. Ravis expresses his boredom with this complex talk and prefers they start training immediately, raising his uncle's laugh, who proudly declares that this is indeed his nephew. And returning to the present, Ravis approaches Minha, who is sitting with her family and entertainment company representatives, and asks her directly if she really wants to do this. The girl is surprised at his question. He offers her help, asserting that if she's forced into this matter, she only has to tell him and he will take care of getting her out of this predicament. And he repeats his promise that he will take over solving the problem entirely. The girl remains silent, while a painful memory from the past flashes in her mind, where her uncle was violently assaulting her mother, calling her ungrateful and thankless because she thought about leaving. And he screams that she can't take Minho or Minha because they are registered in his family record. While the mother begs him to let them leave, he threatens to let her survive without any money in her name if she tries that. The children intervene, protesting that their grandfather is the one who gave them their properties. Their uncle describes them as naive, just like their mother. Then he reveals his true key to survival, which is that everything he places his hand on becomes his forever, while he clenches his fist on their mother's neck. And in that horrific moment, the mother asks her daughter Minha to memorize this lesson well, and returning to the present, Minha repeats in pain that this is her choice. Then she announces her agreement to the contract, but she sets one condition, which is that any money she earns must be put in her name, and she resolves in her heart that she will save her mother and her brother from that monster. The stepfather laughs and agrees to her condition immediately, asserting that this is a given and that her hard work will be hers alone. The CEO agrees to the deal and suggests signing the contract immediately. The mother begs the CEO to take care of her daughter, describing her as more precious than her life itself. And when her mother asks her if she's sure of her decision, Minha answers with a determined smile, asking her to trust her this time. Then she turns to Ravis to thank him for his interest, while he remains silent watching the situation. Later that night, and in a luxury car, the CEO, Han Young-ju, contemplates her new vessel, commenting in herself that the more she looked at her, the more she found her perfect. And she admires all her details, her appearance, her eyes, and even that rare purity that no longer exists these days. But her purple-haired follower draws her attention that her brother Young Minho seemed eccentric and unnatural. Then she asks her other follower for her opinion. She confirms that she felt something special emanating from Minha's brother. Under the weight of the new developments, one of Han Youngju's followers asserts that she is certain that Minho is not human. Based on this, Han Youngju guesses that he might be a tracker sent from the demon world. Her son offers to intervene and handle the matter, but she firmly refuses, explaining that any hasty move could cause much larger problems. Her son seethes with anger at Minho's sharp gaze, expressing his desire to tear him apart. But his mother reminds him that the absolute priority now is for Minha. She promises him that the night of the moonless sky is approaching, and that once the ritual is completed and Minha's body is possessed, he will be allowed to do as he pleases with that bastard Minho. Her son asks her with childish eagerness for her to promise him that, and she confirms to him that this will be like a gift from her to him. The follower provokes her mistress's anger when she calls her by the name Mara. So Han Youngju orders her never to utter that name again, declaring that she is now Han Youngju and she will be born again as Jung Minha. Then she vows to herself in anger that neither the Demon King nor the 12 black seats will be able to stop her this time, and that she will not fail again. The next day, Minha heads with determination toward the Nox Entertainment Building. There, CEO Han Youngju introduces her to a group of trainees. She announces before everyone that Minha will be the center member of the new group named Zira. One of the trainees, named Hyan, objects, explaining that she had been training for this position the whole time, but the CEO coldly ignores her and orders her to support Minha from now on. The CEO leaves after asking Minha to succeed in her mission. Later, Hyan confronts Minha in anger, accusing her of exploiting the influence of her father, the candidate for the mayor's position. She screams in her face that she has stolen from her a position she trained for 4 years, even though Minha had stipulated not taking the center position upon joining. Then Hyan loses her temper and lunges at Minha, violently scratching her face. Minha is left in a state of shock as she touches her bleeding wound. In their luxury apartment, Han Youngju's son watches what happened on the television screen with great excitement. He calls to his mother to see the exciting scene. He tells her with overwhelming happiness that Hyan has scratched Minha's face and that blood is flowing from it. Han Youngju's features turn into a mask of demonic anger, and she describes Hyan as a worm that dared to cause harm to her precious vessel. Elsewhere, Lim Sion and Street discuss the news of Minha's debut, and Street wonders if she will be able to control the human world if she succeeds. Street brags that she knows everything because she lived in the human world for 200 years. Ravis explains that the matter does not concern him as long as this is what his sister wants, but he adds that the CEO and her children provoke his disgust. He noticed that they were not affected by his demonic gaze, which leads him to believe they might be demons hiding in the human world. Street confirms that demons who live long in the human world can hide their aura easily, and that caution is necessary. Then she warns Ravi against acting recklessly while in Minho's body. Sion adds that Minho's sharp gaze does not please anyone. But Ravis rejects these warnings with confidence, asserting that he can detect demons even without his aura. and that his suspicions toward them still stand. Lim Sion complains that he has not even been able to find the one called Barca, while annoyance appears clearly on Ravis. Ravis's annoyance reaches its peak, so he explodes in anger and threatens to send Sion to a training camp in the demon world and orders Street to drag him there immediately. Sion is struck with panic by this threat, while Street declares her loyalty enthusiastically. Ravis attributes the reason for his anger to his inability to use the demon bloodstone correctly, which makes him feel weak to the point that even dogs ignore him. Then Ravis asks his follower, Street, if she has reached a way to restore the stone's power, and she answers him in the affirmative, asserting that she found a way to restore his demonic power. Based on this, Ravis decides that he will take over restoring his power himself, while he assigns Sion, whom he describes as Servant Number 1, and Street with the mission of monitoring Han Yongju and her twin children, which causes Sion shock from this new title. In one of the dark alleys at night, Hyan walks crying in despair after losing her position she trained for 4 years. Suddenly, a shadow carrying a shining sword appears before her, so she asks in panic about its identity. It turns out that the newcomer is one of Han Yongju's followers, so Hyan is terrified and asks her if she has committed some mistake. She apologizes immediately if the matter concerns what she did to Manhwa, but the follower ignores her apology completely and in a swift motion cuts her with her sword. Then she asks her coldly how she dared to scratch Minha's face, explaining that her mother hates such actions. Memory recalls horrific events from the past, where the real Han Yongju was returning to her home at night, and her husband receives her with love. However, a slimy and terrifying demonic being was lurking in the dark, following them to their home. The being takes a predatory, monstrous form. Later that night, Han Yongju suffers from a horrific nightmare. The being attacks the woman in her bed, expressing admiration for her. The woman wakes up terrified and asks about its identity. The demonic being brutally chokes her, vowing to crush all humans. While she breathes her last, the being tells her not to worry about her children, because it will raise them itself as it needs a child. The mother dies, thinking of her children in her final moments. Her body falls motionless on the bed. Then the possessed corpse stands up with a frightening demonic smile. Her husband wakes up to a strange sound and calls her anxiously. The possessed wife attacks and chokes him, mockingly questioning if he is truly her husband. Then she despises him, describing him as being from a lower class and that she cannot live with him. He asks her in terror about her identity, but she ignores him, then throws him from the apartment balcony while he screams the name Yongju in his final moments. After she gets rid of him, she stands while pregnant and triumphantly declares that this body belongs to her now. The scene moves to the delivery room, where the possessed woman screams from the intensity of the pain. And she explodes in anger in the face of the medical team, ordering them to get these filthy things out of her body, and vowing to kill them all. Then she lets out a final scream and curses the demoness named Ines. In the delivery room, a state of shock prevails, so one of the nurses wonders in confusion about what is happening. The newborn twins carried strange and troubling features, making her doubt the reality of what she sees before her. After some time has passed, the possessed mother stands in her messy apartment, complaining of her body's lethargy after birth, and looks in disgust at the fat she describes as hideous on her belly, while her 2 children crawl on the floor. The twins try to call her, but she faces their attempt with intense anger, accusing them of taking her magic power and demanding they return it. Then, in a fit of rage, she kicks one of them, expressing her indignation at their continued crawling. Then she reveals her true intentions, so she orders them to grow up quickly to become protectors for her until she finds a new vessel, capable of fully containing her vengeful soul. After years, people's talk spreads about Yongju. Despite their understanding of her shock after her husband's suicide, they see that her behavior and actions have exceeded the limits. They point out that she is no longer the Yongju they knew, wondering about the fate of her children. They add that she almost no longer resides in her home and refuses to show her 2 children to anyone, even though they remember how happy she was when she finally conceived them after a long struggle. In the nightclub, she approaches a man who works in the media field and asks him if he knows any beautiful and handsome boys and girls by virtue of his work. She begins to use her demonic magic to seduce and control him, and addresses Ines in her heart, declaring that even in this human hell, there is an abundance of youth and beauty, and that she will make them all hers. Then she concludes her talk with a vow full of malice, promising that she will kill Ines with her hands one day. The scene moves to the investigation office, where Han Yongju plays the role of deep grief before the investigator, telling him while crying that Hyan was a talented and beloved girl and was destined to be the group's star. When the investigator asks her about any grudges or potential stalkers, she collapses, pretending to be severely ill. So her son intervenes and asks the investigator to stop, justifying that his mother considered the victim as her daughter. Her daughter suggests to the investigator to meet the rest of the trainees first, so the investigator agrees and leaves with his assistant. After they leave, Han Young-ju stops her acting, and her features change to intense anger before she starts vomiting violently. She vomits a slimy green liquid full of worm-like creatures, and explodes in a fit of rage, cursing the investigator who is searching the place thoroughly and questioning the usefulness of the money she pays to high officials. Her son tries to calm her, pointing out that those creatures have reached her head now. She screams in despair that her body is rotting and her patience has run out, and wonders angrily how that girl, Hyan, dared to cause a defect in her vessel. Her son reassures and embraces her, promising her that he will prepare Young Minha's body for her soon, and asks her not to worry. But she looks at him with demonic eyes, and sternly orders him to hurry and start execution. Elsewhere, talk goes on about the attack Hyan was subjected to, so one of them describes the attacker as a crazy bastard, and the son agrees with him, expressing his shock at the presence of deviants who attack a girl in broad daylight. At that moment, one of the female officials tells Minha and the rest of the trainees that for their safety, they will start living in the dormitory starting from the next day. So one of the girls wonders with denunciation whether this measure is truly necessary. The son wonders in a tone carrying mysterious implications about the reason for Minha's rejection of the housing idea, reminding her that this measure is a basic rule for artistic groups, then whispers to her an evil invitation to unite with his body. Minha tries to object, expressing her great concern for her mother and brother if she is away from home. Han-young comments coldly that her requests are many, and begins to threaten her that she will personally intervene if she does not agree. But her brother Hansu intervenes quickly to calm her, putting his hand on her shoulder. Then he whispers to her, warning her that their mother will kill them if they cause any scratch to Minha's face, which represents her awaited vessel. After that, he turns to Minha and explains to her in a deceptive tone that Han-young cared a lot about Hyan and that she is extremely sensitive at the moment, advising her not to provoke her anger and to listen quietly. Then Han-young tells them that the CEO will explain everything to their fathers and orders them to prepare their bags and return the next day. Minha feels anxious about the idea of living in the housing, especially as the strange changes that occurred to her brother recently increase her fears. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Lim Sion was gasping from extreme exhaustion. He was struggling to lift small weights, while Ravis watched him with disdain as he lifted huge weights weighing 30 kilograms with total ease. Ravis thinks that his knots are gradually becoming stronger, and that he might be able to suppress humans who use demonic energy, but he realizes that facing a real demonic monster will still be difficult in his current state. His anger ignites as he curses Banbi, questioning how he dares to exploit him in this mission without at least teaching him how to control the demon blood stone. Memory recalls a recent scene where Bambi was writing a letter to his friend Ravis, explaining that he would send him 2 gifts to compensate for his current weakness. The first gift was the method of controlling the demon bloodstone, where he revealed in his letter that he modified the stone to link Ravis's sealed demonic energy directly to his human body, and that this power will not be released completely until the stone shatters, which means shattering his eye. As for the second gift, it was that child, that is, Street, whom he left in his care. Bambi ends his letter asking for it to be delivered to Ravis so he can restore his power. But the bitter truth is that Ravis, in a previous fit of rage, had torn that letter to pieces before reading it. Then Ravis realizes his grave mistake and wonders in shock whether the control method was written in that letter he destroyed. Street's sudden entry in the form of a cat interrupts his thinking as she screams that something terrible has happened. Sion is struck with bewilderment to see her running on 2 legs, while Ravis asks her with boredom about the reason for all this commotion. Street tells him that the matter concerns Han Young-ju and the twins whom he asked them to monitor. Then she screams, revealing that the CEO's true identity is Mara. Sion wonders in confusion about Mara's identity. Street explains that she is Mara Filius, the sorceress of greed, one of the members of the 12 Black Seats, and that she has seized a human body and lives here. A confident smile is drawn on Ravis's face, who now realizes that that woman was hiding here the whole time. Memory recalls a ceremony in the demon world, where his mother, Lady Ines, was the focus of everyone's admiration for her breathtaking beauty that made them describe her as a goddess. And when one of the attendees asked her about the secret of her lips' beauty, Ines answered with wisdom that one must first learn how to carry the truth within it to become beautiful. So the attendee is amazed by her talk that resembles poetry, and hopes to become beautiful like her because she only speaks the truth. One of the attendees at the Demon World ceremony says that she makes her daughter learn the art of eloquence to become like Lady Ines, and to teach her that words are a weapon and dignity at the same time. So Ines decides to grant her daughter the blessing of the silver tongue, In contrast, Mara watches the scene with disdain and describes what is happening as nonsense. Someone approaches her and praises her beauty. So, Mara thanks her coldly and announces that she will grant her daughter a blessing too. But her blessing was a horrific curse, where she wished for her to suffer and die consumed by desire, striking the woman with shock. Mara vows to herself that she will not let this matter pass and screams the name Inas in deep-seated malice. Street concludes that Mara was suffering from an inferiority complex toward Lady Inas. Ravis adds that his mother told him that Mara had been like this since her childhood, but she paid no mind to it. Then he reveals that Mara, after her ascent to the 12 Dark Thrones, was caught stealing from the Spring of Demon Souls and fled to the human world. Lim Sion wonders about the reason for her approaching Manhwa specifically, speculating that she might have revealed Ravis's truth. But Ravis denies this, asserting that if she knew about him, she wouldn't have left him alone. Ravis realizes that in his current state, he doesn't possess enough power to face her and her followers. So, Street enthusiastically suggests the necessity of strengthening the Demon Bloodstone immediately and announces that she will start preparing for that, and reveals that the first step in hunting the sorceress is cleaning the neighborhood scum. In one of the shops, Minha's mother expresses her concern and suggests to her daughter that she withdraw if she wants, especially after the repetition of strange accidents. But Minha reassures her, telling her that her business manager believes they will catch the culprit soon, and that the matter is nothing more than a random murder crime. Her mother reminds her that her dream was to become a veterinarian. Minha contemplates that achieving her dream will take a long time. She is determined to get her mother out of that hellish house with her own power as soon as possible. Then she tells her mother that such opportunities do not recur and that dreams can change, declaring that she will become famous and earn a lot of money. The mother expresses her sadness because she won't be able to see her much if she moves to the housing, so Minha reassures her that her husband will calm down after the election's end. The mother apologizes to her daughter, considering that were it not for her remarriage, her daughter would not have had to go through all this. Minha rejects this talk, reminding her mother of the difficulty of raising her and her brother at an early age, and that her father's death was not her fault. And she adds that her husband was treating them very gently before marriage, and that he has deceived them all. Minha asks her mother to wait a bit, and promises her that she will work hard. Elsewhere, a group of young men enjoy themselves in the amusement park. Ravis watches them with contempt and describes them as pathetic humans, wondering about the reason for all this fear. Sion teases him, saying that his strong emotions must be due to his being a demon, so Ravis denies this in anger, claiming that he suffers from indigestion. But he vows to himself that he will never ride that game again. While they were standing before the dark amusement park entrance topped by a demonic aura, silence enveloped the place, giving the scene a character of awe and anticipation. Ravis directed his question to Street, inquiring whether this was the intended place, and she confirmed that to him with enthusiasm and confidence, calling him by the title Lord Lavis. Then she began explaining the mission, clarifying that a demon who had been imprisoned in the human world had recently managed to escape monitoring, and that she had tracked him thanks to her sharp senses. Ravis asked her calmly about the name of that demon while Sion was trembling with fear beside him. Street revealed that the demon's name is Scream, and explained that his ability lies in converting human screams into demonic power. Based on this, she concluded that luring him using someone good at screaming would be the most effective plan. This suggestion provoked the anger of Sion, who started up protesting that he is a man who knows no fear and has never screamed in his life. So Ravis met him with a mocking look, commenting that he has finally become useful. And without wasting time, Ravis decided to enter and began dragging the terrified Sion behind him, who was begging him to wait. As for Street, she announced happily that she would guard the entrance and ask them to continue. Inside, darkness pervaded the place, decorated with terrifying decorations of spiderwebs and fake monsters. Ravis wondered about the reason for humans' fear of these decorations, while Sion was feeling the presence of a strange aura confirming that there was something real lurking for them. Ravis tried to calm his panicked companion, reminding him that they came here to hunt something, and demanded he stop exaggerating his reaction. Suddenly, a monster doll fell from the ceiling in a sudden movement, so Sion let out a loud cry from intense terror, while Ravis uttered a profanity from the shock of the surprise. But Sion faced him mockingly, pointing out that he had just screamed and cursed. Ravis tried to pretend to be calm, claiming that he was only acting the role of the panicked one to see the enemy's reaction. Then asked him mockingly if this was his first scream in his life, and Sion admitted that reluctantly. At that moment, Ravis realized that his plan was going as well, and that this is the fastest way to charge the demon bloodstone. For every time it reacts with evil in the human world, the stone's power is gradually released. and he knew that if he could absorb the evil of a demon stronger than the evil of humans, it would unleash greater power from the stone. The demon's scream emerged from the darkness, commenting on Cyan's scream that it was as sweet and pure as crimson blood. Then he manifested in his full form, adding that his scream was as pure as a child's first scream, striking Cyan with intense terror at his sight. The demon lunged toward them while screaming that his scream is delicious and demanded more screaming from him. Cyan screamed, calling Minho, having certain that this is the demon they were looking for, while the monster's hand was approaching him. Ravis intervened at the last moment and grabbed the demon's hand, ordering the demon not to touch him because he is his servant. The demon was surprised by this intervention and realized immediately that the one standing before him is not human. Ravis's eyes glowed red and he smiled an evil smile, then addressed the demon by his name, challenging him and questioning what kind of scream he himself would let out. Ravis attacked the demon with a strong blow, but Scream managed to block it, laughing at the idea that someone like him might manage to harm him, while Cyan screamed anxiously, calling Minho. The demon ignored Ravis and focused on Cyan, who was screaming from fear, drawing power from his screams. Ravi stood up while leaning on his knee and noticed that only his left hand is what he can use in fighting currently. Scream directed an energy attack toward Ravis. The attack knocked Ravis to the ground, so Cyan screamed, warning him of the coming danger. The demon drew more power from Cyan's new scream and urged him to scream more to survive with his life. Ravi screamed in Cyan's face from the ground, ordering him to be silent, and clarifying that his scream does nothing but make the demon stronger, so Cyan hurried in, covering his mouth, apologizing in fear. The demon's scream mocked Cyan's looks filled with terror and suggested sadistically that he make earrings from Ravis's eyes to wear. Then he struck the ground with his massive fist, but Ravis managed to dodge the blow at the last moment. Ravi stood up, and his left hand glowed with a pink demonic aura and challenged the demon mockingly, and questioning who he thinks is truly terrified. Ravi set off in a counterattack, but the demon continued his mockery of his short arms, and described his attempts as gentle and lovable, while he easily dodged his punches. Ravis realized bitterly that his physical capabilities in this human body are extremely limited, and that he cannot face a demon of this level. Scream exploited this weakness and grabbed him violently, while Cyan was watching in terror while covering his mouth, and calling the name Minho. While Ravis was pinned in the demon's hand, Scream manifested a glowing green sword from the energy of Cyan's screams, and threatened Ravis that he would enjoy hearing his scream when he plucks out his eyes with his sword. Ravis seethed with anger from the insult of this lowly demon, and swore to himself that he would never scream. The demon challenged his determination and approached with the sword toward his face. And at the moment the sword's blade touched his eye, the sword plunged into his eye. So Cyan let out a cry of despair and terror. But what happened was surprising, for the green sword shattered upon touching Ravis's eye, who smiled an evil smile and blood was flowing from his injured eye. He felt that his vision had become clearer, and that his eye had turned completely into a glowing red demonic eye. Ravis remembered at that moment Banbi's letter, which he tore, which revealed that Banbi had modified the demon bloodstone to link his demonic energy to his human body, and that the full power will not be released until the stone itself shatters. Ravis realized that Banbi had hidden the condition for releasing the power this way, and his demonic energy ignited more strongly. Scream was struck with shock, questioning how his sword failed to pluck out a single human eye. Ravis lunged at him with his new power, declaring that he is not just a human, and knocked him down with a strong blow. Then Ravis turned to Cyan and issued a strange order, asking him to continue screaming. Despite Cyan's confusion and fear that this would increase the demon's power, he ordered him to scream. Cyan did not know what his friend was thinking, but he decided to trust him, and let out a loud cry with all his might. Scream absorbed the scream's energy happily. In the meantime, Ravis felt that the seal on his right leg had begun to break with the increasing power of the bloodstone. The demon believed his opponent had committed a grave mistake, and that this vanity would be the reason for his destruction. Ravis revealed his plan to the stunned demon, clarifying that he had noticed that his movements become slow for moments upon his absorption of the screams. Then he took an offensive position, and announced that the time had come for him to hear the demon's own scream, and set off toward him with massive speed. And with a crushing blow from his hands, Ravis crushed the demon completely. And with hitting the scream, Ravis felt clearly that the demon bloodstone's cover had shattered completely, releasing more of his latent power. Ravis realized that if he continued to absorb the evil of these demons, his original power would return to him in a short time. And with his destruction of Scream, completely who disintegrated into scattered pieces, he confirmed that his power would return quickly. And while he was absorbing the demon's energy through his eye, Ravis felt relief, for he confirmed that his plan was successful as he expected. The power he gained from this demon was incomparable to what he was absorbing from the evil of humans. And with the release of the demon bloodstone, all he has to do now is continue absorbing evil until he regains his full original power. Cyan approached him anxiously and asked him if he was okay, pointing out that the demon seemed as if he had been absorbed instead. Ravis smiled a demonic smile and reassured him, then enthusiastically suggested they set off to search for the next demon to eat him. Elsewhere, and in front of a towering skyscraper, Manhwa was thanking one of the female officials for guiding her to her room in the dormitory. But the official, who was none other than Hanyung, daughter of Mara, told her coldly that she is forbidden from leaving until training begins. Manhwa reluctantly agreed, and when Hanyung went out and closed the door behind her, Manhwa sighed while thinking of her mother and brother. Then she gathered her determination, asserting to herself that she can do that. Without realizing, there was a surveillance camera in the corner of the room, monitoring all her movements. And Mara was monitoring her and saying to Suya, she is very excited. Hansu embraced her, so Mara asked him if he would still listen to her even if she turned into this form, and he confirmed to her that he would always do that. In the meantime, and while Ravis and Cyan were walking in the city streets smelled a strong smell of blood. So she declared her loyalty again, congratulating her master, Lavis Findika, on restoring his magic power, describing him as the lord of the blood of all living beings, and pledged to be his shadow that follows him to the ends of darkness, to paint his crimson steps wherever he goes. Ravis interrupted her with boredom, asking her to stop this dramatic scene and to provide him with the locations of the next targets and go to track Mara, and clarified that he wants to eliminate her immediately upon restoring his full power. So, Street responded to his order enthusiastically. In another place, one of the demons, named Abib Sheol, was enjoying smoking a cigarette that feeds on the malicious energy emanating from human lungs. Suddenly he felt Ravis's presence, who appeared before him and coldly ordered him to follow him, which raised the demon's confusion and shock. The demon released a puff of his poisonous smoke in Ravis's face after he finished him, who began coughing from the intensity of the foul and disgusting smell. Then Ravis moved to his next target, who is another demon named Askra, was absorbing the vitality of drunken humans in one of the back alleys. Ravis commented in disgust that this demon's smell is foul too, and his companion wondered in confusion about the reason for the existence of this large number of Majin demons in the human world, and why they are forced to feed on humans to survive. Ravis clarified to him that demons that escape to the human world lose their magic power upon crossing the barrier, so they are forced to search for a substitute to survive, otherwise they will vanish. The terrified Cyan realized that stories of demonic possession are not just myths. Ravis felt that he had gathered enough mana and decided to test his new power. A strong pink aura emerged from his hands, striking Cyan with bewilderment. Ravi summoned his legendary sword, Damrakal, in its incomplete form, announcing that he has finally restored it. Cyan asked him anxiously if it's dangerous to send Street alone. Ravis reassured him, clarifying that her energy is so small that it's the size of rat droppings, and that no one will notice her presence. While performing her spying mission in the form of a bat, Street was complaining of intense hunger, grumbling that she would die of hunger at this rate. Suddenly, she caught sight of something strange crawling on the ground and set off toward it like lightning. She managed to catch it, but was surprised when she saw what she caught. It was a disgusting worm writhing between her claws. She immediately realized that this worm is saturated with Mara's magic, and she felt the necessity of informing her master Ravis of this dangerous discovery immediately, so she set off back at top speed. In the meantime, and in the company parking lot, Hansu was bragging before his mother that he had made Manhwa lose her consciousness, asking her for praise. Mara, in her human form, smiled a demonic laugh and ordered him quickly. Hansu pulled Manhwa's unconscious body from the car, while Mara was urging him to hurry. Street returned to Ravis, trying to tell him what happened, with the worm still in her mouth, so her talk was unintelligible. Street spat the worm before Ravis, who was disgusted by its foul smell, and told him to look at what she found. She showed Ravis the worm and confirmed to him that it is indeed one of Mara's parasites, and concluded that Mara had lost her form upon crossing the barrier and seized a human body, and added Ravis that the appearance of these parasites means that Mara is in need of a new body because her demonic soul cannot stay long in a human vessel. Cyan was struck by shock and realized that the representation offer that was provided to Manhwa was nothing but a trick to target her body. Ravis confirmed his suspicions, clarifying that Mara was always obsessed with youth and beauty. Then he expressed his anger that that old woman, who is older than his mother, is acting insanely instead of acting as befits her age. This statement provoked Cyan's curiosity, so he asked about Ravis's mother's age. and he answered him that her age in human years is about 6,375 years, which increased Cyan's shock, who asked Ravis about his own age. Ravis tried to remember his exact age and recalled an old memory when his uncle showed him the human world as a small child. In that memory, humans were building the pyramids, so his uncle Varkan laughed proudly, claiming that humans are building this temple for him, and bragged that his body cannot be coveted by a lowly demonic god like him. But Banbi intervened to correct the information for him, clarifying that these humans do not worship him, but worship Ra from the celestial world. Varkan exploded in anger, questioning how they can worship someone he defeated, so Bambi answered him that he does not know the reason. But Varkan insisted that he has won, and that the temple is his, and exploded in a hysterical laugh. Returning to the present, Cyan commented that the pyramids were built 4,000 years ago, and that Ravis is older than he imagined. Street interrupted him in a state of panic, warning her master Ravis that his sister might be devoured by Mara. This words echoed in Ravis's mind as he thought about Minha's fate. In a dark night, Mara remembered the night of her birth. The sky on that night revealed nothing. Hanyung asked her mother if this was the right place, and Mara confirmed to her that this place is the meeting point of the demon world and the human world, and the crack hidden from the eyes of the celestial world. Suddenly, a mysterious person appeared before them, so Mara wondered about his identity. Another demon appeared from the darkness and asked them coldly about their identity. Mara revealed her true identity, declaring that she is Mara Philiax and that this crack is hers, which struck the other demon, who is called Power Hilt, with shock. The demon Power Hilt mocked Mara, describing her as the fugitive, who was in the past a member of the Black Thrones. But she is now unable to use magic, then announced that this place is his and ordered her to leave. Suya wondered about the nature of these strange things while he was carrying Minha's body, so the demon warned him to be careful of stepping on his flowers. Mara admitted her current weakness, clarifying that just maintaining a human body is extremely exhausting. But she revealed that she had prepared for this situation and pointed to her two sons who would protect her. The demon mocked the idea of a hybrid between humans and demons and described the parents' appearance as ridiculous instead of protecting their children. Mara paid no mind to his talk, considering that since she had allowed them to be born, they must perform their duty as sons, then ordered him to take his weeds and leave. The demon seethed with anger from the description of his sacred flowers as weeds, and exploded in a fit of rage, questioning why no one recognizes them. But Hansu intervened and directed a strong kick at him, questioning his problem. Mara smiled a smile of satisfaction and praised her son's act. In a memory from the past, Mara remembered when she forced her children to drink from the spring of her demonic soul, as she lamented over her stolen spring of her demonic soul, questioning if they realized how difficult it was to steal it. Mara was forcing her two crying children to swallow it. This liquid was the spring of the demonic soul. It is a spring located in the deepest valleys of the demon world, and it is said to be full of the tears of the god who created the world, and it is the source of all magic power. And this holy water was the only thing that could satisfy her greed. Mara held a deep grudge against the demon king Gamadir Findika, accusing him of monopolizing the spring he does not own. Returning to the memory, she told her two children to drink this liquid and protect her, considering the matter a waste but inevitable. And her final goal was to find Sir Kale, hiding in the human world. Elsewhere, Street was following Mara's trace with difficulty, and her foul smell had approached. Finally, she reached an abandoned building, confirming that this is the place for sure. Ravis and Cyan caught up with her, who were surprised by the existence of a building in such a place. Street complained that her nose had become useless, while Cyan was begging Minho to save Minha, no matter what it cost. Ravis agreed to move forward, but Cyan objected, considering that he would be a burden if he went with them. Ravis replied to him coldly, asserting that he would be a good shield, which struck Cyan with shock. Street encouraged him enthusiastically, asking her master Lavis to defeat Mara. Ravis ordered her to enter with them too, clarifying that they need larger numbers, and Street was surprised by this matter. She began to tremble with fear and wished she had remained under the command of her master Banbi, questioning the usefulness of wealth and glory. Inside, Mara was preparing to start her rituals, and had placed Minha unconscious inside a magic circle. The defeated demon knelt before Mara, begging her to have mercy on him, and asserting that she will need him if she wants to stay in the human world. But Hansu intervened, asking his mother to grant him this demon to handle his matter, and the demon Power Hilt promised Mara to work hard if she gave him the orders. Ravis casts a look of disdain at his opponents, commenting that likes gather together. He continues describing the group before him. Among them is a drug addict who betrayed his family, a fugitive driven out by greed, and a hybrid twin, asserting that these four suit each other perfectly. The opponents turn toward him, and Hansu wonders in bewilderment if this is Minha's brother, while Mara stares at him with a sharp gaze, uttering the word, "You." Sion is struck by terror and trembles, unable to believe that the corpses scattered around the place are actually real. Ravis recognizes one of the distorted monsters upon which demonic flowers have grown, calling him by the name Wee Yongmo, and commenting that he had been wondering where he had disappeared to. Ravis addresses Sion, reminding him that were it not for him, his fate would have been like those corpses, then asks him in a threatening tone if he will listen to him from now on. Terror completely takes hold of Sion, as he thinks to himself with disgust and fear that this is the real demon world in all its hideousness. The demon power hilt addresses Ravis, accusing him of being the one who ruined his plan. Meanwhile, Hansu confirms to his mother Mara that his suspicions were correct, and that this boy is not just a human, asking her if she knows his identity. Street screams loudly, revealing to everyone her master's true identity, that he is Lord Ravis Bendika, who exterminated Power's family and fell into the human world. Mara is shocked by the scale of the surprise and explodes in anger, realizing that this is the only son of the Demon King and the son of her archenemy, Enos. Anger takes hold of the demon power hilt as well, as he screams the name Ravis Bendika, remembering that he is the butcher who wiped out his entire family. Suddenly, Power realizes that this is his opportunity, for his opponent now is not the king of massacre, Ravis, but merely a prisoner trapped in a weak human body. He is overcome by the idea of revenge, realizing that he can avenge his family himself. Mara screams in malice, cursing Enos, who even dared to send her son to the human world to interfere in her affairs. Ravis assesses the situation, realizing that with his current strength, it is impossible to face the three of them at once, especially since that bastard Power might stab him in the back at any moment. Ravis decides to postpone the confrontation with Power, coldly ordering him to leave the place. But Power angrily refuses, vowing that he will kill Ravis with his own hands, and questioning if he still thinks himself the powerful Ravis from the demon world. Ravis's patience runs out, so he screams angrily with his eye glowing red, ordering him to leave if he doesn't want to die in this place. Then, with an arrogant smile, Ravis issues a thunderous declaration, ordering Power to tell all the demons in the human world that he, Ravis, has descended as the Lord of Blood, and that they must remain quiet until his return if they do not want to be hunted and killed. Power is struck with bewilderment, unable to believe that Ravis can use magic while in a human body, and wonders in terror how this could be possible. Suddenly, Power starts running quickly while cursing him and jumps out of the building. Then Ravis turns to Mara coldly, calling her an old woman and telling her that if she wants to be young, she must endure the pain that grinds bone and flesh, not steal others' bodies so easily. Mara seethes with anger at this insult and screams in his face, denouncing how he dares to address someone older than him in this way. Mara begins to cough violently as blood flies from her mouth, so her son Hansu asks her not to overuse her power. Mara stops coughing and tells him that the matter has piqued her curiosity now. With a demonic smile, she wonders what kind of face Enos will draw on her features if her children tear apart the child she cherishes so much. Ravis replies with a similar smile, declaring that he too feels curious to know her facial expressions when the children of the woman she envied all her life die. Mara issues her order to her children, Hansu and Hanyung, wondering which of them will bring her the tongue of that insolent bastard first. Hansu steps forward enthusiastically, assuring his mother that he is the one who will do it, and summons his demonic weapon, asking her to wait just a little while. Hanyung prepares for the confrontation, holding her two swords surrounded by a purple aura, her looks indicating a firm determination. Hansu screams at his twin sister Hanyung, ordering her to stay out of his way, and confidently asserting that his weapon, binaural, is enough on its own to silence that bastard. It turns out that this discord between the two siblings is not born of the moment, for in their previous battles, they were always hindering each other. The argument between them intensifies, as Hansu screams that his sister is obstructing his path. So Hanyung replies coldly, asking him to shut up and be content with protecting her back. Ravis observes this disagreement and immediately realizes that their teamwork is completely non-existent, so he decides to exploit this weakness in his favor. He moves skillfully between them and mocks them, saying that it seems they will tear each other apart before they can kill him. As the battle continues, Hansu screams in anger because his sister's attacks almost hit him. Ravis analyzes their personalities, finding that Hansu is overly confident while Hanyung is overcome by pessimism, which is a perfect mix to sow discord between them. The violent battle continues, as Ravis blocks their successive attacks with superior skill. The intensity of the disagreement between the twins increases, as Hansu's spiked ball almost hits his sister again, provoking Hanyung's ire as she barely avoids her brother's reckless strikes. Ravis does not stop analyzing the strength of his two hybrid opponents, wondering in amazement what Mara did to them to reach this level of power. The conflict between the twins turns into an explicit competition as Hansu mocks his injured sister and vows that he will be the first to cut Ravis's tongue. Hanyung replies with a similar taunt, wondering if she will be the one to have the honor of cutting his neck. Although Ravis managed to dodge one of the attacks in a fraction of a second, much to Hanyung's surprise. Hansu continues his mockery, asserting that Ravis must die by his hands. Their weapons interlock in a violent fight as Ravis is forced to block their double attacks. A lethal look appears on Hanyung's face as she whispers words of death, continuing her attack relentlessly. Realizing he does not have enough energy to face them together, Ravis decides to resort to a childish trick, so he screams provocatively, questioning if their older sister is very strong. The provocation succeeds brilliantly as Hansu explodes in a fit of raging anger, screaming that he was born 18 minutes before his sister. Hansu completely loses his mind and lunges in a blind attack toward Ravis, who is surprised by how effective his simple words were. His sister Hanyung rebukes him, describing him as a stupid fool who might fall into the range of close combat, but he ignores her and screams that he will bring Ravis's body to their mother. First, Ravis observes Hansu's attacks, which have become more violent and reckless, and realizes with a confident smile that his opponent has now entered his range of control. Elsewhere, Street was facing Mara directly, expressing her deep disappointment in the sorceress she once respected, and how she allowed her greed to turn her into this hideous creature. Mara seethes with anger at this insult and screams in Street's face, describing her as a vulgar and lowly monster. Street receives a painful blow, but she screams calling Cyan, declaring that the time has come, while he was heading toward the magic circle. Cyan was letting out a cry of pain as he tried to reach Minha, sometimes feeling intense heat and other times a lethal cold. As he groans in pain, he looks at the unconscious Minha, begging her to open her eyes. Street continues her violent fight with Mara and vows that she will hold out no matter what, and urges Cyan to hurry to save Minha. But Cyan lets out a thunderous cry of pain and looks at his trembling hands covered in blood. Feelings of despair and helplessness fill him, and he realizes with regret that he is just a human and that there is nothing he can do to save her. An image of his friends flashes in Cyan's mind, and despite the despair that controls him, a sudden determination ignites within him. He screams that he cannot give up, and vows that he will save Minha, releasing a powerful punch. His fist hits the magic barrier, at which time Mara pushes Street to the ground as she lets out a cry of pain. Mara mocks her, wondering if she should stop playing the role of the clumsy monster. Street realizes the strength of her opponent, which is still massive despite her rotting body, and wonders if this is the power of the 12 Dark Thrones. Mara continues her mockery and lunges at Street with a violent attack. Street falls wounded and pinned to the wall by several lethal stabs as she groans from the intensity of the pain. Then Mara turns her attention to Cyan, ordering him to watch carefully the fate of the one she described as scum. Street screams in panic and begs Cyan to run to save his life. In a moment, Cyan is struck and thrown to the ground, where a slimy and demonic substance wraps around him, completely paralyzing his movement. Mara smiles an evil smile and tells him that she will use him as nourishment for her and orders him to wait. Cyan groans in pain, realizing that his body has become unable to move. After realizing she had wasted too much time, Mara begins her final rituals. With thunderous words, Mara swears on the soul-cutting blade, renounces her mortal body, and summons the flame of greed to open a path for her that overturns the balances of life itself. The covenant is completed, and Minha's eyes glow with a purple light, announcing the completion of her covenant. Ravis feels the massive magic power emanating from the ritual and realizes what is happening as his sword, Damrakal, glows with a red flame. And in the midst of his violent battle with the twins, Ravis finds himself forced to block their double attacks. Hanyung lunges toward him, screaming that she is the one who will have the honor of eliminating him first. But suddenly, magical threads appear that completely bind her brother. Hansu is thrown to the ground, bound and gagged, unable to move. Beltia appears from nowhere and rebukes the bound Hansu for daring to bully the one she described as their older brother, Ravis. At that time, the demonic substance emanating from Mara enters Minha's body as she lies in the magic circle. The substance passes through her mouth to complete the possession process. Minha opens her eyes with a triumphant smile, declaring that she has finally obtained the perfect vessel. Mara's old body falls motionless, while she rises in her new body, expressing her happiness with this fresh body and this new sensation. With overwhelming ecstasy, she vows that she will enjoy this beauty forever. Both Cyan and Street scream in terror and despair at the sight of this horrific transformation. Ravis notices what happened, but he is surprised by an attack from Han-young, who mocks his distraction. Ravis realizes with anger that it is too late to save her. From the shadows, Beltia watches him and flirts with his new appearance, calling him brother, while Ravis was trying to avoid the dangerous attacks. Beltia tries to gather her courage and rebukes herself for hesitating, reminding herself that her brother is in imminent danger. But she retreats at the last moment, realizing that if she steps forward, now Ravis will inevitably see her. Extreme embarrassment takes hold of her just by imagining this situation, but she realizes at the same time that she cannot remain idle, so she wonders in confusion about what she should do. Hansu remains bound and gagged, unable to move. Han-young turns in confusion, wondering who managed to knock down her brother, so Ravis exploits this decisive moment to lunge at her. Han-young is surprised as she receives a powerful blow from Ravis. Hansu falls to the ground after being released, and Mara in Minha's body heads toward him, wondering about the reason for his strange behavior. Hansu stands up and screams, questioning where this bastard appeared from, so Mara notices the presence of a small rat in the place. Hansu asks her eagerly if she has succeeded in possessing the body, so Mara presents herself with a new and playful appearance, wondering if she is beautiful, and Hansu confirms to her that she looks completely different. Cyan watches the scene in despair, realizing that Mara has possessed Minha's body already, and wonders if everything is over. But Street screams, calling her master Ravis, and tells him that there is still a chance, and that Minha's soul has not completely disappeared yet. Ravis wonders in confusion, so Street explains to him that this is the night of the moonless sky, a night when the boundaries between the human and demon worlds disappear, and when souls and contracts are at their weakest states. She confirms that Mara's ritual will not be completed until this night ends, which means that Minha's soul must still be remaining. Suddenly, Minha's phantom appears from her possessed body, screaming for help from Minho, and telling him that her body is moving on its own and begging him to save her. Ravis realizes that this is indeed Minha's soul, but Mara laughs mockingly, enjoying this tragic situation. She continues her mockery, wondering if her voice does not sound exactly like Minha's voice. Ravi seethes with anger at this mockery and wonders how she dares to make fun of him. Mara declares that she is tired of this situation and orders her 2 children to kill everyone now. Hansu lunges enthusiastically, vowing to find that rat and kill it too. Ravis boils with anger and insult, unable to believe that he has been subjected to all this humiliation at the hands of mere lowly hybrids. Meanwhile, Mara moved towards Street, wondering if she had waited long, and declaring that the time had come to devour her and gain some strength. Mara looks at Street and Cyan, and wonders who she will devour first. Suddenly, a mysterious purple ball rolls on the ground and stops in front of Mara, who wonders in confusion about this thing. Then a small demonic creature with glowing red eyes comes out of the ball. The ball explodes in Mara's face, who screams questioning about this thing, and the reason for this foul smell. Beltia enters and frees Street quickly. Street recognizes her immediately, while Beltia orders her to use that thing. Beltia heads towards Cyan and orders him to use this weapon to help their master, so Cyan screams from terror. Cyan falls to the ground, while Street recognizes the weapon Beltia gave her and wonders how she got it. Cyan grabs the weapon, which is a strange-looking pistol, and wonders in confusion about what it is and the reason it was given to him. As Cyan holds the mysterious pistol, a massive purple energy emanates from it, sweeping through his entire body. Cyan lets out a cry of pain as he feels a strange sensation taking over his head and his heart beating madly under the influence of that mysterious power. His eyes glow with a terrifying purple flare, and he feels dizzy and has difficulty breathing as the intensity of the energy increases. Mara looks at him with disdain, her arm having turned into a demonic weapon, asking him mockingly where he got this scrap from and about the trick he is trying to execute. Meanwhile, Street launches a violent attack on Mara. Mara blocks her attack easily and scoffs at her new weapon, which she describes as a toy, wondering if she thinks something like this will change the result of the battle. So Street replies to her defiantly that experience is what will prove that. Mara screams confidently that the result is clear, despising Street and describing her as just an outcast and low-grade demonic monster. But Street replies to her angrily, asserting that this talk is unbecoming of one who gave up everything for her greed. Mara realizes that this weapon is not just a simple toy as she first thought, but she does not care about that and declares that it does not matter. As long as she can devour everything, then releases a violent attack of demonic tentacles towards Street. Street finds herself in a predicament as the tentacles increase in thickness and strength, and she realizes helplessly that she is no longer able to cut them. Street concludes anxiously that Mara has begun to adapt to Minha's new body, and that every minute that passes increases the difficulty of the situation and puts them in a weaker position. Mara describes Street as a fresh and vital demonic monster and wonders sadistically about what the taste will be like. Street notices with shock that there is an umbilical cord linking Mara's new body to the original body of Han Yongju, and she immediately realizes that Minha's body is still an ordinary human body in the end, and this means she cannot absorb all of Mara's power all at once. Street tries to cut that umbilical cord connected to the corpse of Yongju, realizing that if she can break the magic circle protecting the original body, she may be able to stop the ritual. On the other side, Cyan's breathing begins to stabilize after the first shock of the power that swept through his body. He looks at the pistol in his hand and wonders in confusion about what he is supposed to do with this mysterious weapon. Suddenly, he clearly sees that Mara's tentacles are directly connected to Yongju's corpse, protected inside the magic circle. And then, the truth becomes clear to him. The process of transferring Mara's soul to Minha's body is not yet complete, and he understands that the magic circle was only a means of protecting the original body until the transfer process is fully completed. A flame of hope ignites within him, and he realizes that there is still a chance to save the situation if he can get rid of that magic circle. Cyan suddenly discovers that he has become able to see the geometric structure of the magic circle with total clarity. And he realizes that geometry is nothing but shapes that can be converted into mathematical formulas, and that the magic circle in its essence is nothing but a structure calculated in numbers. He understands that this circle is what maintains the connection between the corpse of Yongju and Minha, and that he must solve its complex mathematical formula to find its weak point. Cyan begins to analyze the formula, discovering that its center is a cubic polynomial, and that the flow of demonic energy follows an S-shaped curve, and concludes that the core of the seal lies in the maximum value of that curve. So he decides he will differentiate the equation to find it. Street notices what he is doing and wonders in bewilderment if her master Cyan is solving the magic circle formula. She concludes that the weapon Beltia gave him is what granted him this amazing ability to interpret magic. This scene provokes Mara's anger, and she lunges at her screaming as she describes her as a small rat. While Cyan analyzes the magic circle formula, Street grinds her teeth as she blocks Mara's violent attack, realizing she must buy as much time as possible to disrupt her. Cyan immerses himself completely in analyzing the magic circle, converting its complex structure into mathematical matrices, only to discover that the main mana vector represents a symmetric matrix. An overwhelming confidence takes hold of him as he realizes that if he can find the eigenvalue of this matrix, he will find the only weak point in the seal. So his teeth grind with determination as he is about to achieve his discovery. With a smile filled with madness and triumph, mathematical equations flash in his glowing eyes, declaring that he has finally found it, and that the critical point of the circle has been revealed. Cyan does not waste a moment, raising the mysterious pistol and directing it directly toward the magic circle. Then he fires from the pistol a massive beam of purple energy, screaming that its destruction is its inevitable fate. The destructive beam pierces the heart of the magic circle, causing a massive light explosion that shakes the corners of the place. Mara is thrown backward forcefully from the intensity of the explosion and screams in a state of shock and disbelief, wondering how he managed to do that to her magic circle. Cyan lets out a triumphant hysterical laugh, asserting that his calculations were correct and that his formula has been proven. But his body cannot withstand this superhuman effort, and he collapses on the ground unconscious, whispering in his final moments that the magic circle has indeed collapsed, according to his formula. Mara seethes with anger, realizing that her body has not transferred completely yet, and curses these primitives who dared to ruin her ritual. Street seizes this opportunity, declaring that Cyan has played his role brilliantly and that the rest is up to her now. She sets off quickly toward the original corpse of Yongju, and Mara screams in panic, wondering what she is trying to do. Mara lunges to stop her, so Street unleashes a brutal attack and cuts the umbilical cords linking the two bodies. Mara lets out a cry of pain and anger, screaming and wondering where she thinks she is hitting. Then she directs a powerful retaliatory blow that throws Street to the ground. Mara screams in despair, rejecting the idea of everything being ruined now. She continues her screaming that this is her noble body, and that she cannot afford to lose even a small piece of it. Street replies to her while lying on the ground that greed grows like a tree that soon breaks under the weight of its own weight, and that filthy things will stick to that broken thing. Mara rejects this talk, describing her as a lowly monster, and vowing that she will chew her with her bones and everything. But Street continues her talk calmly, and tells her that those things and her greed will burn together and disappear. Suddenly, Ravis appears in the scene with a dark aura, carrying the bodies of the defeated twins, and Street calls him by his name. Bewilderment takes hold of Mara upon seeing him. Hansu apologizes to his mother, explaining that this bastard suddenly became much stronger after Mara saw that red smoke. Mara looks in shock, unable to believe what she hears, and wonders if that smoke was the catalyst. So she recalls back to when Beltia intervened in the fight. Beltia remembers how she exploited the opportunity of Ravis's imprisonment in the demon world to draw a sample of his blood, and how it was worth the trouble. And she remembers how she was planning to keep this precious sample forever. But she found no other choice after Bambi told her about the matter, and how Bambi told her that Ravis possesses special magic bloodstones in his new body, and that if he can absorb his original blood, he will be able to restore a large part of his true power. Beltia hoped for her brother Ravis to accept his gift and unleash his brutality as he used to do before. Ravis felt a sensation of refreshment he had not experienced for a long time, wondering about the duration that had passed since his feeling of this power. This new power provoked Mara's anger, so she screamed in her two children's faces, describing them as useless and denouncing their inability to face one man. Ravis did not give them a chance to respond, so he lunged at them violently, where he grabbed Hansu by his clothes, forcefully, then grabbed Hanyung by her neck, letting out loud cries of pain. But they used their maximum power to free themselves from him. And despite their defeat, Hansu announced with mocking thanks to his mother that he would truly kill Ravis this time, while Hanyung screamed as she raised her weapon to die. From afar, Mara continued her screaming, wondering how Ravis Bendika, prince of the demon world, could risk his life for just a human girl. She added mockingly that Minha is not even his real sister, but Ravis smiled calmly, revealing a much stranger reason, which is the cake. Ravis completed his sentence that the cake was delicious, striking Mara with total bewilderment. He explained that the cake his sister fed him did not taste of the human world, but was a unique celestial taste. This logic provoked Hansu's anger, who screamed, questioning how a demon can talk about the celestial world. Ravis directed a mocking question to them both as to whether they had ever fed each other cake before. Hanyung exploded in anger and screamed that she would prefer to throw it in her brother's face, asserting the nature of their toxic relationship. Then Ravis attacked her with a violent blow that made her scream in pain, as if he were punishing her for her response. Then he licked the blood off his lips with a demonic look, while Hanyung's eyes were burning with anger and malice. A distant memory revealed the true reasons behind the twins' distorted personality. Hanyung as a child tried to gain her mother's approval with her perfect grades, while Hansu tried to win her over by cleaning the house, but their mother met their efforts with screaming and disdain, ordering them to drink water if they were hungry. Then she closed the door in their faces, describing them as useless. And nothing they did, whether studying or cleaning, was enough to gain her praise. And in a cafe, the mother was grumbling that her two children were hindering her life, while she was despising another girl's smile in the place. Hansu asked her if his mother didn't like that girl. Little Hanyung stood up in silence and intentionally tripped the other girl, causing her drink to spill and the girl's scream. Amidst the chaos, the mother rushed, and instead of punishing her, she pretended to be sorry for the girl, while she was actually rebuking her, and made a deceptive offer to buy new clothes for her, after the mother left with her two children. Her behavior changed completely, so she embraced Hanyung warmly, praising her act and describing it as wonderful. Happiness overwhelmed Hanyung, realizing she had finally gained her mother's praise. So Hansu got excited and asked his mother to allow him to do that next time, and she coldly agreed. Then, Hanyung realized the bitter truth. If she harassed someone her mother was jealous of, she would gain her praise. And if she hit someone her mother hated, she would earn her approval. Memory recalls a scene from the twins' painful past, where their mother was asking little Hanyung about the reason for her proficiency in hurting others, and whether she listens to everything she says. She answers in the affirmative, while blood drops fall from her sword. In another scene, Hanyung stands over a lifeless body, confirming to her mother that she executes anything she orders her. Her mother grabs her with an evil smile and asks her to kill for her next time as well, so Hanyung immediately agrees. And Hanyung realizes in herself that if she kills the person her mother orders her to kill, her mother will give her the love she longs for. Returning to the present, Ravis licks the blood off his lips with a mocking smile and comments that Mara has indeed raised these two children well. This provocation provokes the twins' anger, so they scream in his face with words of death and compete over who will have the honor of killing him first. Mara also screams in a fit of raging anger and orders them to kill him immediately and get rid of him. Ravis observes this chaotic scene with demonic coldness, considering it a wonderful show of real demons. Then he lunges at them with a swift and powerful blow, so blood flies everywhere. And after knocking them to the ground, he extends his hand toward them, admitting that they are real demons and that they are worthy and qualified to die at his hands. Mara is struck by overwhelming shock, but she realized that his look had changed completely. That look reminded her of the legendary battlefield monster, Barkhan. At that time, Hansu was screaming in pain, so Hanyung rebuked him for his stupidity and lack of caution. Ravis mocks her, questioning if she's worried about him because he's her brother. Hansu explodes in anger and throws the blame on his sister, describing her as scum who didn't perform her duty. Han-young seethes with anger at this insult, and the disagreement between them escalates. So Hansu threatens her that he will kill her first if she doesn't kill Ravis immediately. Ravis observes this collapse with a sadistic smile, raising his sword and encouraging these fools to continue their fight. Then he exploits their distraction and lunges at Hansu from behind and directs a fatal stab at him. Hansu collapses on the ground, screaming in pain, coughing blood, and calling for his mother in his final moments. But Mara screams at him in anger, describing him as a useless bastard until the end, and orders Han-young to leave him and continue the fight. Han-young coldly agrees, while her brother begs her not to abandon him. Mara completely ignores him and lunges at Ravis, screaming at him to die and stop his futile resistance. Ravis realizes he has finished one of them, but Mara's body is about to complete. A picture of Minha smiling flashes in his mind, and he realizes that if he delays further, he will never be able to bring her back. His eyes glow with determination, and he thinks about how long his human body will hold out. But he decides he has to risk everything, so he grabs the blade of Han-young's sword forcefully until blood flows from his hand. And in a desperate and sudden move, he lunges toward her and embraces her forcefully, and bites her neck forcefully, so Han-young lets out a horrific cry of pain. In a desperate and sudden move, Ravi sinks his fangs into Han-young's neck. Mara looks at him in overwhelming shock while screaming questioning about this unexpected attack. Han-young lets out a cry of pain as she falls to the ground, after he absorbed as much of her blood and energy as possible. His decision was decisive, to absorb as much blood and energy as possible to the maximum limit his human body can withstand, to then amplify his power and release it all at once in a sweeping attack. Mara feels the imminent danger, so she screams in his face, terrified, ordering him not to approach further. Ravis lunges at her in a swift attack, so she finds herself unable to block it, and she screams in his face in anger, questioning why he doesn't simply die, while Ravis grinds his teeth under the weight of this superhuman effort. This effort exceeded his human body's capability, so he felt as if his entire being was being torn and cracking from within. And he felt as if his entire being was being torn. But despite the excruciating pain, he was feeling an overwhelming ecstasy, for this was the sensation of absolute power he had long longed for. Mara realizes that everything is about to collapse in her last step and screams in his face for him to stop. But Ravis doesn't give her a chance, directing a powerful blow that throws her to the ground while she coughs from the intensity of the pain. Then he grabs her neck forcefully, so she screams, begging him to leave her and denouncing how he dares to do that. Ravis tells her calmly that the matter is over now, and that her stinking life cord has been cut. Mara screams, rejecting the idea of death at the hands of someone like him. Ravis gives her a final warning and offers to let her live if she leaves Minha's body voluntarily. Mara is surprised by his offer. Ravis confirms to her that he, Ravis Bendika, gives his word on the honor of his father, the great demon king. But Mara realizes in a moment of cunning that Ravis fears she will destroy the body with her, and that he is afraid of this possibility. So she decides to exploit this fear, realizing that if she survives, she can simply find another vessel. And with a triumphant smile, she orders him to throw his sword, confident that his family honor will prevent him from lying, and tells him that he has no other choice at the moment, and that she will execute his desires if he does that. Ravis throws his sword, stands over Mara, and orders her to come out now. Mara responds to him, and her demonic soul comes out of Minha's body while uttering profanities. But at the moment of her exit, Ravis grabs her forcefully as she screams in pain. So she discovers with shock that his arm has turned into a real demonic arm. Ravis smiles mockingly, admitting he didn't really know how to get her out of the body, and that she was surprisingly naive for a member of the 12 Black Seats. Mara's soul is struck with total bewilderment by his words, and explodes in a cry of raging anger, unable to believe he lied regarding his family's and father's honor. But he tells her coldly that he only cares about his own honor, while her soul writhes in his grip, screaming that she doesn't want to leave her new body and orders him to leave her. Ravis looks at Mara's stunned soul and mockingly comments that she really looks in a pathetic form. Mara's soul lets out a cry of terror as she begs Ravis in despair, pleading with him to have mercy on her and promising that she will execute anything he asks of her. Mara continues her pleas, but Ravis prepares to crush her with his hand that has turned into a demonic claw. At that moment, the injured Han-young stands up from the ground. Mara screams at her enthusiastically, inciting her to kill that bastard. Han-young raises her blood-stained weapon and prepares to attack. But in a shocking and mad move, her brother Hansu, who is still alive, stabs her from behind, mockingly questioning if she is trying to steal all the credit for herself again, and says to her that he will never allow that to happen. Then he too falls to the ground and she breathes her last. Mara's soul screams in a state of anger and disbelief and curses the crazy Han Young who threw her last chance to the wind. Ravis looks at Mara's soul coldly, commenting that she kept crying for her mother, but finally died such a ridiculous death. Mara begs him again and promises that she will not touch this girl and will look for someone else, even claiming that his mother and she were once like sisters. She continues her claims in despair and insists that Inas was treating her gently and calling her sister in a desperate attempt to draw his sympathy. Then Street intervenes and faces Mara in anger, questioning if she is truly a mother after she thought of herself only until the end, even after her 2 children died. Mara ignores this accusation and screams that she can give birth to children like them again and continues her pleas to Ravis. But Ravis cuts her soul without mercy, commenting that her reputation as one of the 12 black seats has gone to waste. Mara breathes her last as she groans from pain and curses Ravi in her final moments, unable to believe he subjected her to this shame, and directs her final curse to the fact that her defeat was at the hands of the son of her archenemy, Inas. She screams that she will not accept this fate and that she will kill him before vanishing completely. Ravi stomps on the last remains of her soul, extinguishing her existence forever. Then the excess energy from Mara's soul enters his eye to absorb it. He stands calmly amidst the corpses, declaring that everything is finally over. Street congratulates him on his success. Ravis admits he feels massive power flowing in his body after absorbing the energy of a former member of the 12 black seats. But he feels something strange. He covers his nose with a handkerchief in disgust, complaining of the vulgar and foul smell Mara left behind, admitting this confrontation lasted longer than necessary. Street approaches him and looks at the twins' corpses in sadness, and wonders in sorrow if they would have lived happily with their real mother if Mara had not crossed over to the human world. Ravis answers her coldly that there is no way to know that. Then he looks at Minha's unconscious body and thinks to himself that even if the parents were not demons, children still die because of their parents' greed. Beltia watches the scene from afar and realizes it's time to leave after catching a glimpse of Ravis in Street. But Ravis glimpses her and orders her to appear. She lets out a cry of panic and tries to hide again. Ravis orders her to come out because he has already seen her. She appears while begging him in despair to pretend he didn't see her. Ravis looks at her sharply and calls her by the name Beltia, and wonders in amazement if she is truly the famous weapon maker in the demon world. Beltia was the youngest daughter of the noble Mertano family and the genius who is rumored to be born once every 3,000 years in the art of weapon making, who monopolized all her family's love and pampering. Then he directs a direct and firm question to her about the reason for her following him to this place. Beltia gets confused and denies she was following him, claiming that Bambi is the one who told her she's a gift presented to him, then tries to flee, declaring that the surprise has ended. Street watches her as she flees, and remembers that Beltia was always the most reckless and arrogant daughter among the daughters of noble families, and was even famous for being an obsessed stalker of Lord Ravis. But what raises her confusion is how she can possess Jin Jaehee's face. Then Ravis realizes the disturbing truth. That bastard. Bambi must be the one who placed Beltia's soul inside Jin Jaehee's body to increase the complexity of matters.